but we got a guy in the chair.
I think we are live now. So, welcome everybody. It's our first time to do like heads in a box stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it turns out that there's a reason why they don't have people sit together in a room and do these live streams, like we discovered in our last one, because it's a lot of hassle
Mm-hmm.
and why bother? So, how you doing, Shannon?
Oh, doing great. Doing absolutely great. Been looking forward to this. Excited on it. Um, it'll be some good times. Good times. I don't have fun stuff that I'm prepping for. I know you're getting ready for the upcoming with Kansas City, right?
Yeah, Kansas City Open. So that's kind of what makes me want to do this instead of something like a regular game. I'm busy trying to paint up my guys to 3 color minimum because I'd rather take it slow and have it not be. I don't want to paint an army in a way that I regret it afterward. Like it's just one tournament, right? So just get the base coats in. It'll look just fine. The heroes should all be pretty good looking, but I'm excited about it. My goal for KC Open is 3-2. Since this is an army I played like 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm setting the bar high, where go in, play a complicated army, hopefully do better. Hopefully win 3 games. I guess I've played enough armies that hopefully that carries me across, but we'll see. Derek, however, wasn't able to make it because he was busy painting his army because he really wants to do well. And if you haven't seen at least at the Chicago Open, they really heavily weight the soft scores. So because
Well, and
I'm not going for 5-0 or top tables or any of that. So I don't need
mhm.
first place. I'm happy with them just saying, hey, you met the minimums.
Sure,
All
sure,
right.
sure, sure.
Well,
Awesome.
do you want to talk about your beer? Then we can get
Oh,
started.
of course, because really this is a beer channel
It's
that
true.
talks
Beer
about
commercials.
Warhammer. Yeah. So I'm super excited. I've never tried these guys before. This is True Brewing Company. I've got a weird filter on my video, so it's hard to see any of this stuff. But it's called Blood Axe. The art is great. It's a Nordic farmhouse ale. I feel targeted in my marketing. But I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've never tried it before, and I'm gonna. Oh, what a good sound! Crack it now. Oh yeah, that'll be acceptable. That's great.
Yes.
That's super good. Super good.
And I'm back once again with Atomic Pumpkin from Voodoo Ranger. Just I can't stop the spicy pumpkin beers. Get them while the season's in. But that said, let's get the party started. Um,
Absolutely.
so we're gonna start with the Aether Void Pendulum.
Well, do you want to kind of run down tiers real quick
Sure.
so that the people that didn't read the fine print know what we're doing, what we're all about?
Our buckets. Okay, so our top tier, like the best of the best, is unlimited power. After that, after the force lightning, unlimited.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we've got the never a bad choice. So you can just put this in almost any list, and you haven't automatically lost the game. Then we have Palisades top tier from Justin. I'm gonna disappoint you, buddy.
Oh
Uh,
boy.
maybe Shannon will come to your rescue.
Yeah,
Uh,
I could argue on the side of that.
um, hopefully you don't choke trying to do it.
Hmm.
Can be useful is the middle tier. One of the 2 middle tiers. Below that is niche. So we're talking like there's like one list, there's just a small number of lists that it fits into and it works, but otherwise it's not really great. And then fun but bad, and bad but bad. So that's
Yes.
that's it's 2 sides of the bottom coin. We'll I guess we'll make our justifications why something is fun even though it's not good.
Right.
Certainly, I like playing fun garbage, even if it's not going to win a game, and that's going to be a bucket that I'm voting for probably too much.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. There's so many spells. So many of them have got little things to do. And I've never seen like a good full discussion on things like this. I've seen people talk about each spell, but this is the silly way to talk about each spell. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Palisades is not top tier, Justin. I'm sorry. It looked good when we first read the War Scroll, and then I thought about how to use it, and now it's in the shelf tier.
I think. Well, you know what? No, we will get to it when we get.
We'll
to
get
it.
to it. We'll get to it. So we're
Yeah.
just gonna start top left and start moving
Yep.
through. Aether Void Pendulum. Anyone that's not familiar, it's cast with an 8, moves 8, has to move in the direction that you placed it along the blade edge. So it's not actually pendulum, which would go back and forth, which you hear everyone complain about, and they're right. And then,
well, maybe a game just doesn't last long enough for it to swing back.
it's only 5 rounds. It's a 10-round pendulum. So if we were on round like 17,
there you go.
It would be coming back. Oh, your head just shrank in the stream, and I'm not sure why. Let me see if I can fix it. Nope. Maybe it's fixing itself. Well, first time growing pains.
It'll come back.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
All right. So
we'll figure it out.
After it's moved, for everything it flew over and everything that it ended within an inch of, on a 2-up, it deals D3 portal wounds. So it's like it's a lot of rigmarole for something that they can just get out of the way of, and then it never does anything, right? Am I wrong there?
Right. No, you're correct. I mean, the positives to it, right? It's 40 points, so it's not bad. 40 points is all right. And it is a decent sized base if you're using it as a blocking thing. But that being said, I'm totally happy with bad but bad.
Bad but bad. I agree.
Yeah, like
Scott, no.
I think you got to stretch real hard to look at positives for it when those points can get you anything else.
Right. So next up, I think on the other end of the spectrum, you're welcome to disagree here, but Chronomantic Krogs, just re-rolling every cast for every wizard holier than 12 is outrageous. Am I wrong there?
Oh, no, you are correct, and that's half of what it can do. Like if it did that alone, I would still put it in unlimited power. But it does that, and then if your wizards die, you can turn it into something to ship all your fighty guys. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's at the same point cost as the previous one that went straight to bad but bad. So we're already on the hyperbole here. It's just straight to top of the tier, bottom of the tier. All right. This one's interesting. The Gymnids. Do you have any opinions on Gymnids?
Mm-hmm. So I do. So I think they're underused. Obviously, it's not the same as when you were seeing like every Seraphon list taking them back in an older version and edition. Second ed. They have got a use. What they do is really cool, but you got to set it up. I think that they're a really skill requirement and skill heavy endless spell, which makes them less desirable in general compared to cogs that you put down and you just get your reroll, right?
Right.
But these can get rid of Unleash Hell, redeploy, rally. Like there's so many things that these guys. Well, can they get rid of rally?
No. It's only between the end of the hero phase and the beginning of combat. It turns off commands there. And it's
so not rally.
And it's on a 2-up on these, so you can just fail it.
That's true. This is true.
What's the casting value on
I
this
think there's use.
Let's see. Summoning casting value of 6, so you need a 7 to remove it. I would say can be useful. What do you think?
Yeah, no, definitely can be useful. Like if you're playing a very alpha kind of army, Iron Jaws, the sort of effect that I like to play, and you want to run in and not take an Unleash Hell from, like maybe you've got a big block of elven shoe buddies. They're not wardens. They're sentinels. Okay. Like hit them with this, and now all of a sudden they don't get to do anything. You're gonna pick to activate first. They're gonna fold like tissue paper. Like there's definitely the right style of army to take this. So I mean, maybe that puts it in niche as opposed to can be useful.
I think that's fair. I'm not a big fan of them, just because they're 8 and 8. You can't get them out like into somebody necessarily turn one like you can some of the better ones with longer range. Like maybe Tzeentch can use the command ability to add 7 inches to spells, and then you can add 7 inches to that. But then what are you alpha striking with Tzeentch? Like
Sure.
Enlightened.
No.
They're just so fragile. Like it's putting, and then when they're within range, maybe it's only in the combat phase that they turn off command abilities. But nonetheless, I agree, niche. Here's a next up is a spell that you see a lot less than you used to.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
What did they change about it that brought it in line?
The double pop. So it used to happen when you cast it, and then again in the hero phase. So you could have possibly healed 6 wounds. Now it's going to be 3 wounds a turn regardless, and that immediately took it off everyone's like, oh, this is a must-take list. You know, we still see it from time to time if you're playing something monster heavy or something real character linchpin dependent.
Right.
But as we're going to see with some later stuff, there's a lot more faction spells that do this plus more,
something better.
And because of that, I don't put it up that high.
Gotcha.
It's a small base. Like it's a relatively small base.
Yeah. And it's a 6, so you know, 50% chance to just pull it off the board, even if you don't have any bonuses to your cast. So we'll just. What do you think that puts it at?
And I maybe put it in can be useful. Yeah. I don't think it's niche because I think anyone can use it. Healing's always great, right?
Yeah, and if it stays on the board, it really is powerful.
Yep. But I would argue because there's other things out there that do its job better, that it's never a bad choice.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a bad choice. It's 60 points. If it were 20 points cheaper, like the last 3 spells we looked at, I'd probably change my tune on it because I find myself at 40 points a lot more often than I find myself at 60. So I think can be useful is fair. There's a place for it. You just don't see it very often, and you know that's the way it goes.
And that could have been a little bit of an overcorrection by GW, getting rid of the double pop and making it more expensive than a lot of these other spells, when they probably could have done one or the other, and it would have been fine.
Right. I hated it when it was on the table. The people that were really using it were really, really using it. Like the Legions of the First Princes, where they were just so incredibly tanky that they'd put that thing down and you just could never lift their heroes.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we'll drop that and can be useful. How about the Horror Ghast? I think that unlimited power, or maybe never a bad choice. It's so good, but it's not good against everyone.
I would argue unlimited power, though.
Unlimited power, even with all these 10 bravery armies.
Correct.
Defend yourself, sir.
So, I play an army that I can drop your bravery by 2. And there's a bunch of other ones that have got effects and stuff where you can drop bravery, but it usually never matters because people are just going to ignore the check. It's the fact that you ignore the check and then you get the little kick bonus of D3 guys run. Massively powerful against Stormcast, Iron Jaws, any elite infantry, all the stuff people want to put bounty hunters on right now.
Right.
Like is going to be big beefy things. Nurgle, like if you go up against Blight Kings and you can drop their bravery from something, make them take that check, and even if they fail it by 1, that's a chance of 4 putrid Blight Kings running from this spell. It is so good, and it's only 40 points, and it has an initial threat range of like 20 inches between setup, movement, and its aura.
Right.
Like that covers most of the gaps in our deployment zones. It's huge.
And I guess to its credit, it does have a cast within 12. so you can
Mm-hmm.
just yeet that thing out there, and then an 8-inch move. So at a minimum, it's moving 20 inches up, and then its radius is within 12. Excuse me. Uh,
Not wholly within.
yeah, just within.
Within.
So you just gotta
Yeah.
touch something. Now, good
So that's
luck.
a
Good luck reaching
22
that
inch.
far, right? But if you can reach that far with range, then you're getting some action in. The
Or
only
if you're an
downside,
Alpha Strike monster army.
yeah, you just blast them.
Yep.
Um, I'd say the only downside is the casting value 5 because it makes it easy to get off, but it's easy to uh, pick up from the table. That's a good.
It's also a double-edged sword spell, which would be the other downside depending on who you are.
Which is why I guess that's why I say it's never a bad choice because there's always a use for it. But unlimited power, I think would be high casting value or its enemies only. I
Sure.
just I don't
Sure.
see this
Fair. No
everywhere. Like
fair.
like it's not like Cogs where it's just so good you can't not take it. Like I don't know what Tzeentch does if they don't have this. Having played as Tzeentch, it's like the best way to beat Tzeentch is to take Cogs off the table and then watch Kairos roll double ones and then just
Sure.
like I beat a Tzeentch player doing that. Like he just rolled double ones on Kairos and that was the it. Like LOL.
That's it.
There's
Yep.
Justin. He takes the Cogs and Doc. Doc is like a melee blender army, and he just wants a chance to get off those really high casting value spells. And for 40 points, are you kidding me? Hopefully the battle scroll does something to them. Just makes it more points, because some armies really need it, like Tzeentch, but maybe just so
Sure.
you don't just drop it in literally a melee army that with one caster, and you're like, well, I had 40 points. Why wouldn't I reroll my cast? Um,
Absolutely.
Anyway, do you want to override Never a Bad Choice, or do you want to stick
I
to your guns
I
with
think
unlimited power?
we can let's put it never a bad choice.
Okay,
And then maybe if never a bad choice becomes overpopulated, we can
we can
kick it
bump it
back
up,
up.
bump it up.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Next up we have the Laoshan, the Soul Seeker, Soul Warden,
The boatman.
Soul Seeker. Yeah.
Yeah.
People call him Thankful Skateboard. I think he gets underused, but only because there's not that many like super powerful casters that you can
There's
just
not that
that can fit in
it's
his base, right?
that's the kicker, right?
So for
If I
anyone that's
could
yeah, go ahead.
yeet a Terrorgeist with it, then this would be a different story, for sure.
It'd be a story that I would have nightmares about because I have to play Terrorgeist so often.
That's fair.
So for anyone that's not familiar, what he allows you to do is you can pick once you put him down on the table. He's got a casting value of 6, so not terrible. It's still a 50% chance to get it lifted, but people aren't going to be lifting it in most cases. It's just he's like once he does his work, he's just kind of on the board puttering around. And his work is that you can pick one friendly wizard wholly within 3 inches, and it's not a particularly big space. So your base has to be no bigger than 3 inches on its longest or widest dimension, and then he can deal a mortal wound to them, and then move. What is his movement? 18 inches and fly, and then you just drop them anywhere, and they can move afterward. And so the reason that
Right.
that's so powerful is that Thankful fits the bill on the 3-inch deal, and then he can move afterward and just blast with outrageous warp fire. I think it's a trap ultimately. You have to be really good about what you're doing in order to make that work and not just automatically lose Thankful. Because what it does is it really incentivizes you to take a wizard and make them a not wizard like combat hero. And most of the wizard combat heroes are on big bases, so they can't really take advantage of him. So I think that he's niche. That's my take. How about you?
I would agree with that for certain. And the big thing, of course, being is because yeah, you can't take any of those big bases. Does it say a single model that's a wizard or just a unit that's a wizard?
You pick one friendly wizard. That means the
Ah,
whole unit needs to be within his space.
but you could theoretically jump some Lumineth or some Tzeentch or something up there. But I feel like that doesn't change anything. I think we're still in niche because you're definitely
Yeah, what
picking a
wizard
weird
units
little
are
something.
also like melee powerhouses that want to alpha strike that have a low movement? You know what I mean?
Ogroid Thaumaturge.
That's like 175, 70 points. And then I mean, he's good. He's super good. but
Yeah,
usually you
he's
see him as
great.
your general in the new book because of his ability to take that extra damage, extend his
Mhm.
range 7 inches, and then heal himself with his War Scroll spell. So I don't know. Maybe if maybe
Uh,
just take two. It's a Giga Brain move. Take two, and then yeet your one hero up there, and then watch him like red mist on their turn.
uh, does Aventus fit in that? I think he does. I think if you could do this with
I
Aventus
don't think
off
you
of
can. I
Stormcast.
think his base is 4 or 5 inches wide.
But I think it's that oblong, and so
It's
is this
round.
one.
It's round.
Is it right? Oh,
I've
it's
got
full round.
one.
Okay, then
I've
yeah,
got
never
one,
mind.
and I
You're right.
just nothing personal kitted one yesterday. So I'm familiar. I'm familiar
Perfect.
with his base. But yeah, it would be
Yeah,
nice. It'd be really cool. But he has an ability that's a non-bow with this. That after he moves, he provides this big like area of +1 to hit, and you want him back with your friends, buffing them up with a +1 to hit, rather than moving him out and then getting him killed by super aggressive tactics. Anyway,
sure.
it's niche.
Yeah,
It's like
niche.
yeah, it's niche. I wish there was a use for it, and I hope somebody comes up with a Gigabrain like play that involves him that isn't thinkable. But we'll see. In the interest of moving on,
Yeah.
the next one is the Malevolent Maelstrom, a list or not a list, a war scroll that is really close to my heart because I think that it is extra dumb and it like hurts you, and I don't know.
I
I think it's got like a place in lists that are not going for a 5-0. Let me put it
I
like
think
that.
I think there's a tier named what you just said, but like succinctly, for sure. It's definitely not unlimited power because it's limited at 6.
Yeah.
So you're stuck there. This is I would agree with you that this is a bad but fun. Like we talked we talked a little, and maybe you could call it niche if you want to play it into like a Slanesh army where you're just trying to get depravity, but it's a spell that you got to have near your wizards if you want to intentionally feed it, or you got to drop it out, and it's got a relatively short range, but you got to drop it out by their wizards if you want to like bomb them, which again involves one of your wizards running down the field screaming and hoping he gets there. Maybe this is where he gets in the boat, and then you got one guy cast the boat, and your wizard gets in there, and then he goes up, and then he casts the maelstrom, which I think altogether is fun but bad.
The problem with the boat is that it happens at the end of the move, end of the hero phase. So you're done with your
Ah,
casting. So you have to.
yep,
That's like a 2-turn setup.
yep.
8 and 8 isn't bad. It's got a 5 cast, so it's easy to get out, easy to take off.
Hmm.
But what I like about it is that it is a 24-inch diameter, like plus whatever its base is, so 24 inches and 44 millimeters or whatever.
Right.
The diameter of like D3 mortal wounds that you don't have to roll for. It's not on a 2-up. It's not like do 10 backflips. It's just honest D3 mortal wounds to literally everything, and it
Right.
is just within. It's not wholly within. Now it's all units, so you're gonna blow yourself up. But if you are good at pushing things forward and getting some like I don't know. I think that a Tzeentch list has a place for this. It's particularly Tzeentch Castle list that has like just sends it forward using the command trait to add 7 inches. So you're looking at 8, 8, 7, and then drawing 24 off of like 12 inches back, 12 inches forward, and you're gonna max it out. And at its maximum like level, it has a 50% chance of going off at the end of the combat phase. But it's each combat phase too. So like
So
if you got it in their face, you're kind of baiting off some casts because they're like, oh, I don't want my whole army to take D3 mortal wounds. They throw away a spell. I don't know. It's 50 points,
maybe,
probably too
or a
much.
heroic action.
Or a
That's
heroic
the thing.
action. Yeah.
And I think this strongly falls in bad but fun, because what if take the new Tzeentch one that's all about turning your Arcanites into Zangor.
Oh my
So you're
god.
casting spells to feed the thing, you blow up your Arcanites, and then you turn them into Zangor, and you're feeding your Zangor factory while chipping away at them with this ridiculous spell.
Um, yeah, the Eidolon, John Smith calls out heals if it casts. So you could, and it's fast and has a ward, so you could actually push the Eidolon up, maybe get it out. Um, I don't know. you're so vulnerable to mortal wounds and IDK. And you want to be aggressive on specific turns, and so if it's just a 4-up roll, it could go off on the wrong turn, and like half your stuff runs away because you're not super brave. You're mean, but not brave. To call back to Justin's comment on dupe fires with the Laoshan, I'm not familiar with the War Scroll. Are they like melee dudes? Because I know they have a spell that's like D6 mortals or something like that. But again, they have to survive to your next hero phase because the movement happens at the end after all your casting's done. If you could use this guy to get people in range, all of a sudden it looks a lot more enticing. But anyway,
right.
I'm a big fan of the Eidolon, not the Eidolon, the Maelstrom, even if it's bad.
Not the Eidolon.
Yeah, not the Eidolon. I like the Eidolon, but not for this. Just a second. Clear the throat.
Yeah, I think that it needs to be remembered that the fun but bad category is not a negative place to be.
Not at all.
Fun is great.
Fun
right?
is great.
Like maybe it's not the most competitive thing, and maybe it can bleed over into that sort of niche category. Maybe you can find something dumb to do with it. But it'll always be kind of fun, which who knows? Like maybe that's why it's green and fun but bad, because really that's where you should go. I don't know.
Justin says that they are close to that the Doomfires are close to spear snakes on damage output. What? Why isn't everyone running them? Well, you're gonna have to tell us the secret Doomfire strategy, Justin, because I like myself some off-meta whatever, and Doomfires are literally the only thing on dock that I don't have a single model of. So the last thing I need is an excuse to get Doomfires. But now I'm hungry for it. Anyway, so moving on to the Palisades. Prismatic Palisade. This is what Justin was jokingly saying, OP, in the early comments. This had a big change.
Massive change.
With the current GHB. It's at 40 points, another 40 pointer. All the points on these endless spells are now like something that you'd consider, except for, a few that we talked about.
Right.
And this one's interesting in that units within 6 inches of the endless spell cannot make shooting attacks, and you add 3 inches to the range of the ability at the start of each battle round after the turn it was summoned. It's battle round, not turn. But that bubble, if you get it down early, is pretty good. The problem is that it's a casting value 5, and even a dumb orc like Mr. Krabs, Mr. Ian's brute, even that brute who can't even take a heroic action can dispel this spell. The other problem is that it needs to be set up within 8. Yeah, wholly within 8 inches of the caster.
Yeah.
Who's like next to their shooters? The problem is that the shooters are far away shooting you. I guess you can stop yourself shooting. This is like a super flex. Like you bring 60 wardens and you put the prismatic palisade next to them. Like I'm gonna beat you with this one Sonari Cathalar. Like you don't have a chance against me.
Yep. It's a cool idea. It's a super cool idea, and I could see it, in the boardroom or whatever being proposed as, hey, what do we do against the shooting meta? But the fact that it has such a short range.
Yeah, that needs to be like 24 inches. It needs like a 24-inch range, wholly within, that lets you like drop it near something, and then keep the casting value low so that they have some easy counterplay, so you can't just turn off a shooting army and then shooting armies just lose. Because they've done a lot of good stuff already about reeling in shooting armies. So I don't want them to like make shooting bad, and this becomes all of a sudden limited power. But yeah, the big problem is that it's the range. So do you have an opinion about where this goes on the swim lane?
Oh, bad but bad.
Because
I don't even find it fun because all it's doing is denying your opponents the ability to play.
Yeah.
Like it could be useful if like you said, if it was range 24, then at least you can toss it down to eat and unleash hell. Right. But without that, it's bad and it's not fun. So just bad but bad.
Bad but bad. It's so sad. but true.
Yep.
The next one, a terror of the tabletop, even after the nerf, in my opinion. Um, 90 points for the Purple Sun, 6-inch bubble of within extra rend to your whole to everything. It goes both ways, but that's a bubble small enough that you can control. Right. And then the new rule is that everything within 1 inch on a 1, like it's deleted, or if it's got 10 or more wounds, takes d6 plus 6 mortal wounds. I mean, it's the change that needed to happen. It's still, in my opinion, like rend at that level at a casting value 8, so it's hard to get off the table once it's on. It's just so good.
I mean, its downsides are that it's casting value 8, but that means you also have to cast that 8, unless you're KO or some shenanigans,
or Croak or Tzeentch or all these people that get these massive casting bonuses.
True. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's still unlimited power. 90 points is still totally worth it. For certain. And yeah, the rend aura is just massive. I think it's obviously better in shooty armies or magic heavy armies as opposed to melee where you're putting yourself at risk. Unless, man, if there was a way, you could ally in something for Khorne, right, and then have him throw it out there and just let everything get rended and died.
It's a fun tool to try and farm out a bunch of Blood Tithe by moving it in, moving units in and out of its aura, because each time you go in, you trigger the 6-up ward roll, spell ignore, that then also generates that. But the problem is that you've got no casting bonuses, and you've almost certainly got a Bloodsecrator, so that wizard needs to be way out of the way of that 16-inch aura of reroll successful casts. No bonus rerolling 8s take the lowest is some brutal odds. If you're going for that, if you're just going to try and farm Blood Tithe, there's better spells to try and blast out that have a lower casting value with still big auras, such as the Maelstrom. Just saying.
Sure. Yeah. No, I still think the purple fun is way up at the top there. I think we're still going to see a lot of it in competitive stuff unless something big changes. Because, like you said, rend is massive. Being one of the things that you can actually stack beyond a 1 means get as much of it as you can, right?
Right. And now that said, I don't put it in every list, just because that the 90 points, the difference between 70 and 90 is pretty significant.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you put it in the list, you can cast it. It does tons of damage, lifts models. It's just, I don't know, unlimited power.
And a giant, a big screen. I've used it before just to be a big base in the way.
Big base. Just can't go wrong.
Yep.
So.
For sure.
Next up, another one that has received a glow up since our last GHB, the Quicksilver Swords, may be a tad on the expensive side, but it does mortal wounds that can't be warded against. And
right,
I don't know what I think about it as an endless spell. I'm excited about it when it's on a unit, even when that unit does arguably the same amount of damage as this spell does. The Nurgle Demon Prince, the new one. It's not out yet, but you have a heroic action where you just ignore wards, and your damage on those Demon Princes, as far as I can tell, is not great. But even just plink it at just the right time, just the right amount of damage coming through, and killing that Nurgle hero or that hero with a big ward save or whatever, killing good old Gotrek, his 3-up ward. Right. Or whatever it is, just cuts right through.
Yep. And I think that's why this thing exists. I think this thing exists so that if the meta shifts to super heavy ward save, smaller units, then this exists, and that'll help keep it in check. Because when Gotrek was everywhere, I was taking Quicksilver Swords in my list because you've got a chance. If you spike that roll, you might just kill Gotrek. Like, you take him off the board. That's it. But most of the time, not super useful. Which I think is the definition of niche. By my book.
You want to make it? I can go with niche. Just for anyone that's listening, you roll 12 dice, and on each 5 up, there is one mortal wound that can't be negated, even by wards. It's got a 6-inch summon and an 8-inch move. Like, maybe if you could be a little bit more proactive with it, I'd be hotter on it. The 6 casting just means it's a 50% chance to remove it with no bonuses. So, like for something like this, for 60 points, I'd want it to be on a 7. Not because I want it to be harder to cast, but because I want it to be harder to remove, because once it's on the board, it needs to be doing work. So.
And it probably needs those 2 turns to be doing work because of its short range.
Right. Like, it's got to get out there, and the easier it is to remove, there's no reason that they shouldn't.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
Yeah. So, place that on the niche. Something that has seen a lot of popularity recently. Ravenak's Gnashing Jaws. You've been playing it a little bit, haven't you? Hello, hello? Alright, sorry about that. Looks like we had some failure here. Let me see if I can get Shannon back in the call here. Alright, see if I can fix this for right now. I've invited Shannon back. We'll see if he's able to join us. I'm not sure what the error was. Go ahead and get my head the right size. There we go. Yeah, I also blame the purple sun. The purple sun just purple sun this stream.
Yep.
Oh, and then my head's the wrong size again. There we go. Did you catch that? The purple sun just absolutely wrecking the stream here.
That sounds right. We did get a little too close.
Too close to the sun. Well,
too close to the sun.
Yeah, if you guys stuck through that technical difficulty, thank you. If not, no worries. So we were just talking about the Ravenak's Gnashing Jaws, right?
Yeah.
We have, let's see here, casting value 6. So it's got a decent removal chance, 50%. But in this case, I actually like it because it's so fast, or it has the potential to be in your lines immediately. So the other player needs the option to be able to like pick it up and move it. Right. Casting value 6. It has a casting range of 8, and then what happens is you roll 3d6, and that's its move. On the turn that you cast it, you get to re-roll that roll to help mitigate some of the randomness. And then you, after it's moved, you pick one unit that has any models that it passed across or within 1 inch of it after it ended. So it's just one unit, but on a 2-up, so some more hoop jumping, but on a 2-up, you roll a number of dice equal to the move characteristic that you rolled. And on what is it? On fives or sixes?
It's the difference
It's
between
the
their
oh, that's
movement
right.
value.
Is you
Yeah.
roll the number of dice, and then the difference between their move and what you rolled is for
It's
the
mortal
movement
wounds.
is
Yeah.
what is how many mortal wounds you deal. So if you roll a 10 and they have a 4-inch move like little stumpy dwarves, then they take 6 mortal wounds. It's potentially very good at just coming up behind somebody and maul ninging their nice little hero off the board.
Yep.
It's super good. You see it a lot, I think. I'm not as big a fan of it just because it's so random, but I cannot deny the results people are getting about it.
And again, a real big base. Like it's got some real good field control. It's a massive
I
base.
remember you
You can
punishing me with
screen
that
things
base one
out.
time.
Yep. Yeah. If even if like you get a bad roll for it to move forward, you can position it in such a place where it's not super tempting for someone to come in on it either.
Right.
For sure. For sure.
So
I
I'm
like
I'm
it.
on the fence on it. So like you've got a stronger opinion about it, I think. What do you think?
I'm thinking I think it's better than niche. I don't think it's never a bad choice because it it costs a fair amount of points. It's using up one of your endless spell slots, and there is that randomness to it.
Right.
Um,
And it's
for
60 points.
certain, it's 60 points, and as like an aside thing, it has the potential for 18 inches of movement each turn. You could have that spell go feral pretty fast if you're not
That's
keeping
true.
up with it with your wizard.
I'm really bad about keeping track of how far things have moved away from me. I'm sure I'm not the only person.
Sure. Yeah. So it.
I think can be useful.
Yeah, I think it can be useful at a minimum for sure.
I
Like,
mean, it's so popular and people have been having good use for it. I mean, never a bad
yeah,
choice. Like 60 points for something that can just kill a hero and isn't like a 5 to cast, so they're not having to roll less than 50% or better than 50% chance to lift it. I could
mhm.
go with never a bad choice.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I could agree with that for certain because it's also something that some of your fighty yeet wizards like my guy on a Terrorgeist or a dragon could run up and then just throw that out there because I mean it's a low enough casting value, and even if it goes off just the one time, that's massive.
And
It's
Ian points
absolutely
out
massive.
that it looks cool. And so
It does
extra
looks cool.
points.
Extra
He's not
points, yeah.
wrong. I agree.
I,
It's pretty cool.
yeah, never bad. I think that's a good shout.
Next up is the Shards of Valagar. These have never been particularly big, and the one list that beat me at Flying Monkey Con had them in it,
Hmm.
though they didn't
Hmm.
had nothing to do with their win. Um, it's interesting, and I think that certain armies, aka the little like casting coven from Nurgle,
Hmm.
can make particularly good use of them. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But it goes off on a 5, so even Mr. Krabs can get this thing off the ground. Um,
Right.
Casting value of 18, and the parts need to be set up wholly within 12 inches of each other. So this is like incredibly far apart. Got a lot of range. They come on the board really far away, and they're predatory with a 12-inch move. These things are on jet fuel. Like that purple stuff that you see going between them, that's jet fuel. It's like jet
But
fuel
it's
linking. Like, go ahead.
one of them moves. So
Uh,
they got a step ladder up.
oh, that so yeah. So the summoning they both have to be wholly within 12 of you, I
Hmm.
think. Or wholly within 18. So the range is
Yep.
18, and they need to be wholly within 12 of each other. And then when it moves, you pick one of the parts and you move it up 12 inches. Excuse me. And so they're not both moving up at the same speed. You just they're like you say, they're step laddering up so that one moves up and the next one moves up. But nonetheless, the like the projection of these guys is pretty big, in my opinion.
Yeah, they can move fast, but because their effect is drawing a line between them, if you're doing that flat step laddering, you're really mitigating like their area of effect versus if they're moving kind of diagonal to each other side by side,
Yeah.
you're going to catch more things between them. when your opponent has to come through them to come get to you, as opposed to, well, just avoid this vertical spot on the board.
Right. And what does this even do? Like, what's even the point? What happens is that after it's moved, you draw a straight line between the 2 points of the spell, the 2 closest points of each model of this spell, and you have the move characteristic of any unit that it crosses across, and then in addition, they cannot fly or be removed from the battlefield from an effect that would allow them to be set up again later in the same turn. So it stops teleporting, and it makes stuff slow. And it's, I think the only thing holding these back is that really low casting value, because it's easy to get them off the table. But if somebody has moved up at all, and you're worried about like Manfred getting away from you, because he wants to be super like up in your face, you can just ping Manfred with this thing. Even if like you just put it out, just ping Manfred. Doesn't matter if they lift it. You're not invested, and then you've got him. He can't do his sneaky little escape at the beginning of the combat phase trick, and after that it can be sad times for Manfred.
I think that the issue is that, again, if we're trying to like get in the heads of the boardroom and whatever, they could potentially be really good at stopping like the dragon nonsense, right? You relocate the dragons, teleport them right up forward, and then they just smash into you turn one. Right. But their range is what keeps them from doing what I feel like they're supposed to do, which is shut down this idea of you just teleport into me and alpha strike and we're in trouble, and make the game have to be played. And because their range is so short, you can't do it turn one anyway, and it kind of like defeats the purpose unless you're rocking the changeling or the Lumineth character with an arcane tome or some weird little thing where you get in their backline and then dump these things. And then I would argue it's the low casting value that keeps them from really doing what they need to do.
Yeah. One of the sneaky tricks with these guys is that if you put them, let me back up. In Nurgle, there's a special little like casting coven. You take 3 sorcerers, Nurgle sorcerers, and any endless spells that I think they cast or that you cast also have the disease mechanic. So there's a lot of area that you can then start covering with this, where they just can't help but get sick, so to speak. And getting those disease points on early is really powerful, and these are pretty big bases, and there's 2 of them. So I don't know. I think there's a little bit of play. I don't know if it's good, but there's definitely a niche use for these guys that isn't just their prescribed job. So what do you think? I'm torn on them.
So I don't think they're bad.
Not bad, but bad.
They're not bad, but bad for sure. I also don't really think they're fun. So I think I'd maybe throw them in niche, because if you're running one of those deep striking wizards or the Rot Coven sort of a deal, man, I'm trying to think if there's any other cool kind of use, or I mean, even if it's not turn one.
Sylvaneth can cast them out of trees. So if you like being stuck in your lines while they're teleporting like in and out, like striking fading away from you, this is for you. This is the sort of pain you're asking for.
That's true. No, that's a good point. That could be definitely not fun but bad. That just sounds annoying.
Annoying.
But I'd put them in niche, because it sounds to me like we're both agreeing that there's lists and places you could take them, but that it's not the general.
It's not the meta. Not the meta pit.
Yeah, correct.
All right, next up, our boy, the Soulstream Bridge. Often trod by Iron Dwarven feet with blasters. A favorite in some older cities lists, where they would put 30 Iron Blasters through the bridge and then just blast you. So anyway, I started blasting meme in real life. 80 points though. Casting value 6. So not terrible to get off. But I don't know. It just you can't move afterward. All it does is set you up with a 9-inch move, a 9-inch charge, excuse me. Oftentimes to me, it feels like I teleport something up through this thing, and I am merely delivering them something to kill. Like,
Sure.
maybe Tzeentch, if you could guarantee at that 9-incher with your charge, but at that point, like,
If
what are you
if
like?
I mean,
What in that army are you trying to push up? Like some coalition, slaves to darkness stuff, maybe.
so I don't think yet you're trying to push things up with this. I think you're trying to push them out. So my thoughts with this one was doing Ossiarch Bonereapers with their catapults, right?
Okay.
You dedicate your time to go hunt them down in one corner, and they jump 36 inches roughly to the other side of the board, and they just keep shooting at you. Like, that's where I see these things being super useful, is dumb long range attacks and just doing avoidance. You can throw some little chaff up to tie them up on their way, and when they're getting close enough, you're like, nope, goodbye, and just other side of the board.
And I believe there's a heroic action in OBR to automatically cast a spell, and that's any spell, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Well,
so the question is, why aren't you just auto casting Purple Sun? But after that question is, why aren't you teleporting your catapults? I guess.
Right.
I mean, it does. Those catapults do have a 6-inch min range, so it's a great way to get them out of a bad situation. Or 3, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever that range is.
You can teleport something in combat. It just has to be within range of the bridge. Yep. So it is definitely a good bail button for something like that. If you have, your giant Lumineth shooting unit or something that's got really good range on that too. Like there are some real. I think it's another argument for niche of if it's something long range that you've got to bail out of there. I don't think it's a delivery system. I think the delivery system is the boatman if you're looking for a weird delivery system. If you're trying to do a delivery system on something big, you're losing out on the ability to move because of the bridge, whereas you can still move after boat guy. So I really just don't see them as a yeeted up the field. I see them as a move laterally.
And would you call that can be useful or niche?
I would put it as niche because it's 80 points and it's a low casting value.
If it were 60 points, I would say it can be useful.
For sure. Sure. And of course, the same point that you made with the shards, with the Rotbringer Coven, there goes a slow army, can be useful to get them up. And then you've got these two massive bases for delivering disease.
Yeah. Justin calls out pinks. So, like, if you don't need friends in your life, you can take a 30 block of pinks. Mm-hmm. You don't have to. you don't have to do the funny business with the Gaunt Summoner, where theoretically you can get picked off the table and everything in the Silver Tower, and your Deep Strike gets deleted from the game. In this case, you just use your Destiny dice to auto-complete that 9-inch charge, and then, like, good luck with these 150 wounds that I've gifted to you via the Soulscream Bridge. Now, stuff doesn't automatically go off. You do have to do an honest cast on this thing, even with all your bonuses, right? But it is a call out. There's like a place for some of that alpha strike stuff.
There is a weird side argument to that, which is they can't move, right? They can't. They can still charge, right? They just can't move.
Yep. Which is that 9-inch guaranteed from your Fate dice.
If I jump in there with something and hit them, then I can use the bridge to get away from pinks.
If you can get on the other side of them, right? Because they're going to be in between you and the 9. Like, they're 9 inches away from that thing, or more than 9 inches. Because does that make sense? Like, they come in wholly within 6 of the bridge, 9 inches away from your stuff. So
correct.
You're talking about maybe.
That's true. They probably make
pretty far away. Like, the whole point is to alpha block you. And
that's fair.
I don't know.
That's fair for sure.
And there's a place for it. There's a place for it. And if you're a host of Epicletus, you can't retreat out. And Like if you're doing that, of course, you're hosted duplicitous.
Right.
Anyway, I could talk about toxic zinc strategies all day. So Sean Kelly has a comment here. SOB, take the double distance relic and teleport Craggy anywhere on the table. Easy peasy. That's pretty interesting. Like I never considered like this thing as a Kragnos delivery system because like
3d6 charge out of it. Yeah.
And the other thing is that if you then run like a unit of the Mega Mob or whatever it is, the 3 Man Crusher Mob, that's what it is. You use that, and you can run those guys, and then they can still run a charge if they're near the big guy. So the big guy runs in behind, teleport Kragnos up, and then they're all just blasting from the midfield down into your face. So it's a good call out. I like that one. I have to say, can be useful now. There's too many cases where there's a place for this.
Let's for at least for the sake of time, let's do can be useful for sure.
Okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Moving on.
We've been convinced. You too can convince our opinions by joining in on the chat.
So next is Soul Snare Shackles. Michael Warner says still have to get the cast off. It's only a 6. I don't think it's too bad.
Yeah. The cast is okay.
It's not like guaranteed, but very few things. So
yeah, cogs first. Bridge second.
First your cogs. Okay, so Soul Snare Shackles. This one, I've tried to make this work, and this is like I make a tar pit and then I run in the tar pit every time.
Yeah,
I have never not shot myself in the foot with the spell, and I still love it.
I have never unbound this spell.
And it's a 7. You need to roll an 8. That's
but like I've never tried.
Oh, you never tried?
Anytime my opponent casts it, I just accept that as part of the terrain, let them mess themselves up on it because they always do, and go for it. It's such a potentially great spell, but you have got to know how it works and not just totally take yourself out of the game with it, because 80% of people that cast it do.
Me.
80% of people 100% of the time.
I throw it down. I'm like, I'm not going to move into it this time. I'm not going to hurt myself. 2 turns later, I'm like, I can't complete this charge. Nothing's working. All my army's getting picked off on the edges. What was I thinking? Yep.
And then you're trying to unbind it yourself, and you can't get the roll for whatever reason.
I mean, it's
every
an 8,
time.
and like, of course, I don't know. I want to say fun but bad. I'm a big fun but bad on this one.
I agree. Fun but bad, just because of that. Otherwise, I'd argue it's niche because it's great for armies that just want to shoot. If you cannot mess yourself up on it, but it's like God. I don't know if there's a bunch of.
I want to see a Tzeentch player take a bunch of Arcanite, like those dumb little guys that cast the extra Rend spell, and then put this in front of them, and then play a castle off of it, and see if you can make it work. Summon your blues on either side to slow people down on the flanks, and then just spell casting castle out, and have that one unit that's like minus 100 Rend that has 1 hit that they then save anyway. But with 100 Rend, you get that 1 damage in. I'm telling you what. Anyway, like I think
nonsense.
It's close to my heart, but it's bad. So bad.
Yeah, I agree. But fun but bad.
Yeah, Sean Kelly has a good call out for the LRL. Like if you're Derek's a good LRL player. Maybe he should try using it. I don't know. If he hadn't been painting his army for KC Open, he could have chimed in about it.
Now we'll never know.
Now we'll never know what Derek thinks. So the Suffocating Gravetide. All right.
Yeah.
So it's got an 8. It's 8-inch cast within and 8-inch move. Flies like everything does because it's predatory. What is its casting?
It doesn't
6. So
it doesn't matter. That's the problem. So the problem with the spell, the biggest problem with the spell is it's a quarter the size of the battlefield. This spell is so massive. If you've got to have it wholly within 8 inches, it means your wizard has to be in the front rank.
It's true.
You can't be behind anything to set this thing down to cast it.
Just be
Then
brave.
it only moves 8 inches, which means it's never going to clear a unit. It's always going to have to bump right in front of it and then do its stand. Like it's too big for its limited range and movement, and that makes it worthless. This should be the GHB in which Suffocating Gravetide is fantastic. It's hitting things based on the number of models in a unit. But because of its like the physics of this piece, it's bad.
I mean, and not just because of that. For the same 40 points, you could have Chronomantic Crocs. Like 40 is too expensive, and like it's a horde breaker, right? You just pick one each unit. So each unit that it passes across, which is always one because it's too big.
Right.
And it's not even that it ends with N. Let me be clear. It's not the same one where you move and then also everything nearby. It has to move across it. Jaws. It has to move across it. So you have to go up and back again because your base is so big you're never going all the way up. And then on each 6, it's a mortal wound for every model. So even if this was a 5-up, it would be bad.
If it was high movement, if you thought of it as like a Hulk thunderclap and it just like rolled across the field, then it could be great, right? Then you're hitting a bunch of units, and maybe you're not doing tons of damage, but you're rolling big buckets of dice, and I could at least call it fun but bad. Right now, it's just bad but bad.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because I really want to take it. It looks so thematic with the Death Army.
Sean Kelly with the hot takes. Alternate take, it's the best part about it is its base size, because it then breaks at like it's your blocking piece.
But you could do that with Ravenous Gnashing Jaws.
And he says there's just better options. Like
exactly.
He's self-aware, and with a 6 to cast, you have a 50% chance of just lifting it. Yep. And at that point, I want my defense in the next turn, or even 2 if I get doubled, to be like that they fail at 50% casting, and that's assuming no bonuses. So
and again, it's taking up one of your 3 endless spells, and there's other things that can sit in the way better.
Yeah.
I gotta say,
it was a good call. It's a good call out that there's a small place for it, even if that place is blocking off the rest of the garbage can.
The problem with the small place for it is that the place isn't big enough. That's the issue. That is the issue.
I'm going with bad for bad. I don't think I have to talk you into that.
Nope.
I like the changes that we got to the Burning Head. This guy is 20 points now. Like, he is the ultimate list filler.
Why not? Yeah.
He has an 8-inch cast and an 8-inch move, and every unit it's anything within 3 causes him to detonate, and then everything within 3 on a 2-up takes D3 mortal wounds. And it's just good. It's casting value 6, so it's not like a free unbind. Go ahead.
They fixed the dumb thing. Did you ever play at a tournament where they told you that this endless spell couldn't stay on the field?
Oh, because it was within an inch of itself?
No, it was some weird thing with the dumb, broken language that English is, where at the end of its movement, check to see if there's anybody, and then it explodes. So I went to a tournament where they're like, yeah, it blows up at the end of every hero phase. And I was like, well, what is the point of this model? Why can't I just arcane bolt you and point? And he's like, I don't know, man. I didn't write the rules. And the TO ruled it. Yeah, it's a worthless endless spell. And I was like, well, thank you for telling me that now that I'm here.
TOs are both the heroes, the villains of tournaments.
This is true. No, but mad respect for TOs and what they all got to put up with. Like, he was just reading the rule as written. English is just a dumb language. The placement of the comma made that sentence dumb.
Well, either way, it wasn't amazing before. And Justin says he would argue niche. I'd have to agree, not because I think that it can be useful, but I never take it. I never say to myself, I'm taking the Burning Head in this list. I look at my points and I say, 20 points. This lets me either bid better for the triumph, or it lets me, have something.
And
what do you think?
Because of that, I'd argue that it's that second tier there, that it can always be useful. It's
never a bad
20
choice.
Points. Never a bad choice. If you got 40 points left, take it. And now you got 20 points left. If you got 30 points left, take it. And now you got 10 points left. Like, if nothing else, if you cast it once, you're down at your end of the game. You and your opponent have only got 4 models left. And you can get off this and an arcane bolt, and you possibly do 6 mortal wounds and take out the other character. Great. For 20 points, it's never a bad choice if those points are left over. Like, what else are you going to do with 20 points?
I mean, I agree. Like, when you've used it a lot against me, and I've hardly ever used it, so I'm gonna take your word on this one. Never a bad choice, because it is like 20 points. Like, can you really go wrong if you're not like stacking heavy on endless spells?
Yeah.
So next up is or real quick, Justin Binks. Both 40 points. You have options now. Yeah. I don't know.
That's true. If it was 40 points, you're right. You do have other endless spells. But if you're at
20?
39 or less,
yeah, or you just don't want to go to 2000, because like the rate at which you give up the triumph is pretty extreme as you get it near 2000. So if you're at 1980 or 1970 or versus 1980, that 10 points, I don't know. I think that there's something to be said for that if you really want that triumph, or you really want to like compete for it. But anyway, moving on.
Sure.
Umbral Spell Portal. I don't want to say it's unlimited power anymore because of the change. I do think that it can be useful, and I'm going to defend that by saying that there's plenty of times that it's a bad choice. Like, not every army has a place for it. You can no longer yeet your endless spells through it like a bad friend. It has a place. You can do one, but not every list can use it. Just some lists, and I wouldn't say it's niche because of that, because I think there's a lot of armies that can take use of it. But what do you think? What's your hot take?
I would argue it's not niche, because anyone besides maybe Khorne or a Duarden list or whatever can use it. If nothing else, you can always cast Mystic Shield a little further, right? Right?
I mean, that's a true effect player with his Archregent in the backfield speaking there. Like,
exactly.
I just need one more save, one more +1 on this.
Yep.
Abhorrent whatever on Terrorgeist. Yeah, Justin, I do think that I can't play Tzeentch without it. I tried. I did. I thought like, oh, I want to see how this goes, but man, Tzeentch is making this great again. Like
the ranges are short on Tzeentch. This thing helps.
Yeah, I love this in Tzeentch, and so I just think
I don't think it's unlimited power for sure.
I think it can be useful. It should be useful. It can be useful in Tzeentch. You can always use it in Tzeentch, but you can't always use it in every army. It's not cogs, okay? It's not just free money. It's not like a printing press printing casts.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so
yeah, I agree.
That is it for. Well, I guess I should demonstrate. So I moved right over here. Can be useful. Sorry, I get caught on talking with the app up and get distracted. So switching back here, we're moving on to the faction specific ones that I'm less familiar with. Shannon, however, is a good internet broadcaster and did some research ahead of time.
Do what he can.
So we're going to start with alphabetically. The Doomblast Dirgehorn, which is, if nothing, fun but bad because it's such good conversion fodder.
So are we doing alphabetical by army book, like army by battle
spell,
tone?
Yeah,
and spell, yeah. So much organization makes me happy. So I wanna start off and spoiler alert for the next 6 minutes or whatever.
Okay.
I like the Beastmen Endless spells. I think that the worst part about the Beastmen Endless spells is that they're in Beastmen. Like they're good. They're good. So this thing, casting value 6, set it up in 12, and it's gonna be 1 inch away from other models and whatever.
Right.
So it's got a range of 3. At the start of every subsequent battle round, the range is increased by 3. So you can get up to a range of 15 inches, right?
Okay.
Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by units within the range, not wholly within, but within the range, and it doesn't affect your beasts, your beastmen, your beasts of chaos.
That's so good.
That's so good. Even if it is just a, oh, you're my backfield, and I drop it down just that little 3-inch bubble, -1 to hit is massive. Either they've got to waste a command ability to negate it, or like especially big swingy things, because that's how my brain functions, right? Is monsters with big swingy things. Durthu ain't got nothing if you take his -1 to hit. He already rolls 3 1s to hit half the time. If you take away another like minus to hit, you're shutting down these big, powerful things. And it's on a casting value of a 6, and a point costs a 30. That's great. It's fantastic. I'm not saying unlimited power.
Yeah, it's low. It's low casting value, so it's not. It's 50% chance to pick it up off the table with no bonuses, but it does mean that it's better than 50% chance to get it down with your no casting bonus. Beast Chaos folks, and it's way better than that since you've obviously taken cogs at 40 points because your endless spells are so good.
Right. And it's cheap.
I'm feeling it. Feeling it. And all these guys, I think that OBS just had a hiccup there. Apologies. So back from the hiccup. Horn is niche. Blah. Sean doesn't like it. I don't know. I'm not a Beastman player. But I like -1 to hit. I think it's. What do you think? Can be useful. Never. I don't know if it's never a bad choice.
So what we need to remember now that we're in the faction spells is that niche can no longer be interpreted as some armies can take it, because obviously only one army can take it. Right. It needs to be now that the niche concept is you got to build for this, and I don't think you've got to build for the horn here, this dirge horn. I think that in any beastman list you're taking, it can be useful. Maybe not if you're really ambushy and really like alpha, because it is a shorter range to cast it. But I think, man, I gotta say that it's maybe at least one better than niche.
Can be useful.
Can be useful
because you don't have a ton of casts in beasts, as far as I'm aware. Like you don't have a bunch of double casty wizards. So whenever you're casting this, you're not casting other things. You're not casting Mystic Shield. You're not casting Strangle Thorns. You're not casting the Doom Bowl, which we're going to talk about is real good.
Arcane Tome.
You're not casting. Oh yeah, Arcane Tome.
You can always take Arcane Tome, and you're probably taking enough stuff that you can get a Warlord battalion or 2 in there, right?
Yeah, I mean you're definitely taking cogs already. So
sure.
It'd be the cogs, this, and maybe the Doom Bowl. I mean, we'll talk about the Doom Bowl, see if everyone agrees. But
sure.
Sean Kelly's not hot on it, but I have to admit, as a non-beast player, just seeing like all those stats without having played it, I'm excited about it. I just don't want to paint any beasts.
Right. -1 to hit and -1 to wound is the way that armies with terrible saves can have survivability.
Yeah,
you either got to out body count them or you got to affect that.
Yeah, Sean calls out like Hellstorm, Sundering Blades, Tendrils, Devolve. Woo, Devolve. I could write a little poem about how much I love Devolve. So he's got a good point. It's just like you're really competing for a lot of spellcasting space. I still agree. Can be useful. It doesn't mean that like everything else can be better than can be useful. So you still don't cast it. But I don't think it's the worst thing I've ever seen. We're going to see a lot worse than this.
Oh, absolutely we are. For sure. I like can be useful.
All right, Ravening Direflock. This is a spell that I want to be good, but I don't think that it is.
So why don't you think? Because I feel like we're going to have a discussion here.
Let's read this, then we'll see what everyone in chat says, and then we'll maybe form our opinions after everyone has schooled us. So it's got 3 parts, which I like. I like that it's the only one with 3 bits after Warp Lightning Vortex.
And the Snow Snare trap yourselves.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's right. So it's not that rare, but it's not common, right?
It's not common.
It can be summoned with a 5, so that's a downside right there. It's easy to get out, easy to get off. Range 12, and then you set each of this is spell within 3 inches of each other. So you make a little 3-inch triangle, right? Um, and then the Harbingers of Dark Omens. One, great name. I'm sold already. Models cannot issue Inspiring Presence or Rally while they are within 12 inches of the spell. So it's just a different version, slightly bigger aura so far of the
Horrorghast.
The Horrorghast, thank you.
And 25% cheaper.
And 25% cheaper, but much easier to remove from the battlefield by a non-casting wizard like army. 5, so they just need to roll a 6.
But it's a 5 versus a 6.
Well, I'm just saying that it's better than 50% chance for them to dispel it on their turn.
Sure. But like the Horrorghast isn't Purple Sun, where like once it's out too.
Right. So yeah, it's not like it's the deal breaker. If the unit finishes a move within 1 inch of this end of spell, or remove it from the battlefield, at the end of that phase, the player whose turn is taking place must set up the parts of the endless spell anywhere on the battlefield within 3 inches of each other and more than 1 inch from all other models. And so they can just move it to the edge of the board, right? They can just charge your spell and then move it to the edge of the board and then just say, deal with it, bro.
They excuse me. They certainly could, if they wanted to do that, but then they're moving up to that spell and stopping it. Because like if you've got to set them all up within 3 inches of each other.
Yep.
So like if you throw it in front of their guys and they move up to it, they've eaten a movement phase to do that. You only get 5 of those. Okay. Like that's a big deal.
Yep.
For sure. But the rest of it is that it's if a unit. So when I cast it back in my corner, I can just move my wizard up, and now I can teleport it across the board to put it right where I want it to get rid of those battle shocks.
Okay.
That's amazing. That's an unlimited range Horrorghast.
And Sean Kelly continues to school on Beast of Chaos, reminding that is set up a move. He says that you can just come on the board edge and scare and black souled cowardice them back across the board. If a unit finishes a move within 1 inch.
Setup's not a move.
Setup's not a move. So I guess you can't summon on the board edge and then automatically move it if they move it to the edge. But I agree. Like 12-inch bubble for no rally and no inspiring presence. That's super powerful for 30 points.
So massive. So like if, and again, obviously we're mixing books here, right? But if I could take this, if my Arc Regent could cast it, throw it down the field at everyone I'm going to go charge this next phase. Okay. Run my monsters in there, and even if my monsters die, as long as I do enough damage where I know they're failing battle shock, then it just becomes math. Did I spend my points right for what I threw in the field? And when you're playing Beastmen and you can always summon in another X, the answer is probably yeah, your math works out. I think that this is one of the best endless spells. And I know that is going to come out really, real high praise.
Right.
But for 30 points, a low casting value, deny battle shock, especially in an infantry handbook right now. This is super great.
Are you pushing for never a bad choice? Unlimited power. I'm
pushing for unlimited power. I can maybe meet you in the middle, but I'm pushing.
I'll meet you in the middle on never a bad choice. I don't know if middle. I'd say it's like listening to you guys talk. I think never a bad choice is where I land on. I think unlimited power is too high given the laundry list of other spells that you want to be casting, and given your limited list of like decent casters and your lack of casting bonuses. But it's
man, I always countered that argument with throw an Arcane Tome on a melee hero, and if his one job is these crows, then sweet. Then you're not competing with any of their spellcasts.
I mean, if you've got a hot take here, I'll move it to unlimited power. This isn't you're feeling it. I see your face.
God, I'm feeling
your face
it.
is feeling it.
I'm feeling it. It's so good. It is the fact that you get to put it wherever you want.
Okay.
Is there any other spell in the game where you get to say, you know what? this is where I need it right now, and I'm not doing a random dice roll. It's not something I had to set up a turn before. All I have to do is cast it, move my guy next to it, which he's already there because he cast it, and then I can set it anywhere I want, 1 inch away from other models. That's so cool. So cool. You could put it back behind them so that they can't redeploy away from you when you move up your chargers into them. There's endless possibilities to what you can do with this thing.
We'll allow it. This is unlimited power.
Unlimited power.
So we're gonna move on to the next one, Wildfire Taurus.
That's meh.
Yeah, 70 points here. It's a big model. If you haven't seen it in person, it's casting value 7, range of 6 inches, so pretty short range. And you have to, with that big base, you have to move it, place it, within 1 inch or outside of 1 inch of all other models and endless spells and invocations. So it can be hard to place, particularly when you're in combat. But it does play on a 7, so you have to dispel on an 8. So there's something to be said for that. But it does move 12, so you're looking at 18 inches of range. Then what makes it great, after it's moved, roll a dice for each unit that has any models that passed across and anything that ended nearby. And on a 2-up, it suffers D3 mortal wounds. In addition, a strike last effect applies to units that are within 3 inches of the spell. It's not tied to that 2-up roll. That's just, you're striking last, buddy. Nothing personal.
Yeah.
That's I think the 70 points is the biggest problem with it. But
sure, but I mean, I think we can both agree it's better than the Gravetide already, just because of its it's got bigger move and all that kind of stuff. So it's going up there. This 70 points in a relatively cheap army.
Yeah,
I think is worth it. I think your bigger issue is the points that you were bringing up before, where it has the chance to compete with other spells and you don't have a lot of casters. If you could take something like this nonsense in Tzeentch or Lumineth, it would be unlimited power easily.
100%.
Always strikes last.
It's worth noting that it's not Beast of Chaos excluded. Like, everybody strikes last, so you can't charge into it. You have to come at the sides, but that's what they do, right? They're coming at you from all angles. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with Never Bad Choice because I think it's better than the Horn, but I think it's not as good as the Dire Flock. What's everyone else say?
So the other thing is, like, yeah, it does affect your beastmen, but if you count and do your math right, if you've got one unit that is then going to be, like, working on Always Strikes Last, it doesn't matter, right? Like, you get to pick. Is that how that works? No, they get to pick their first Always Strikes Last after you've done all your stuff that's not striking last.
Yeah, it just goes back to regular turn order, but at the end of combat.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah. Wait. So does it go back to regular turn order, or does it continue on? Is it a separate activation thing?
I think it's a separate activation thing. It's like a whole separate combat.
You would get to activate your first Always Strikes Last before they get to.
That's my understanding. It's my understanding. If I'm wrong,
well then,
I blame Derek.
Yeah, then who cares, right? Like, throw your guy in there. You're still getting one free activation, and other people are effectively just getting Always Strikes first.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Our resident BOC player here calls out that the Bolgor or Dragon Ogre lists it's significantly better in, but I think that I'm gonna err on the side of caution here and just say that Never a Bad Choice.
Yeah, no, okay. I would agree. It's solid. Which,
all right,
like, we'll look at the end when we've ranked everything, but I got a feeling that Beastmen are going to have some of the best clustering of spells on this whole thing of any book.
Yeah, worst right now is can be useful. Like, you can't say that all the time.
No.
So some hot takes here. Some fiery hot takes. I don't think I like the Burning Sigil of Tzeentch. I was so excited about it because I was one of those people that first read that it creates a spawn with the first model in every unit that it kills. I misread. But I have had this thing fluff on me so consistently at a 4-up that I just like 50 points. I only seem to ever be taking one Tzeentch Endless spell, and this ain't it. I think it's. Go ahead.
It's casting value 5, right?
Yeah, so it's super easy to remove. Everyone's just like blowing it off the table as soon as the second battle round starts. If I use it as my start, yeah, that Sean Kelly agrees that it's a hot take. I'm just like I've had it go the opposite way when he used it against me, where it went off on every single unit in my army, and I still beat that person. Like, it's not good enough because it's not reliable enough, and then it immediately comes off the table, and then all you've done is create a spawn that then immediately get killed in combat. It's just you have to get lucky with it, and then it's if you get lucky with it, it's outrageously good. But it's just 10 points more for a better one. Go ahead.
Correct. Yeah, in the grand scheme of spells, right? It's 10 points more expensive than Cogs, 10 points more expensive than the Horrorghast. There's just so many things in which, like, why would you take this? With the exception of, like, you get a free spell. But I feel like we're going to talk about just pick a different one of the two are being better than this. I agree with you. I wouldn't. I don't think it's niche. I don't think that there's a reason to take this over the 41 other spellcasts you can have.
I'm going to put fun but bad.
Is it fun?
I think it's fun. Creating spawn is fun.
Okay.
Anything that creates spawn, I'm in. I want spawn everywhere. Right. It's bad. It doesn't win you games. It can, but it's not a reliable way to win games. That's usually what I'm thinking about when I say that. Is that when I say it can't win games, it's not reliably win your games. It's like a 75% success rate.
But isn't that the ultimate Tzeentch move, to adjust your glasses and say, it was all calculated when this thing maybe wins you a game?
Yeah. So anyway, that's just my hot take. Like, this is subjective. I could be so off base. I could go to KC Open and lose to like 5 Tzeentch lists that all beat me because of this spell. So in that case, I will comment below this video after the tournament and say I was so wrong. But
I was wrong.
Yeah, it's just it's not bad in the realm of like all endless spells. It's bad in the realm of your other options.
Sure. No, I agree.
Speaking of your other options, the one that I really do like, after having played with both of them, the Demonic Simulacrum. And I watched a video with Coach, and I can't remember the guy's name, a really, really good Tzeentch player who's been playing it his whole life or whatever, and I've been playing it for a few games. But he pointed out a bunch of good reasons why this is great, and now I super agree. Yeah. So it's 10 points more than the other one. You set it up within 12, and it's got a gigantic base, and it moves 9 inches. So you've got
of course it moves 9 inches.
21-inch threat range. You roll 9 dice, and on a 5-up does mortal wound, and if it targets a wizard, instead does mortal wounds on a 4-up. Now it's a 6-inch range on that, but it has to target the closest one, so it's not all like perfect. They can screen it out essentially. But if they're doing that, then they're making choices around it. You can also use it really well to prevent yourself from being alpha charged. And unlike other spells, on the first turn, you can't, first round, it can't be dispelled. So it's a 100% reliable base in front of you until you move it or whatever. I think it's value because, like, think about Morathi. If they like front loader, and then they give you first, you just push this in, and you get 3 mortal wounds on her. It's not guaranteed, but it's a pretty good chance to get 3 mortals out of this against a wizard. And it's a big base. It comes around to their turn, you get to do it again without any counterplay, and then at that point, you're got her on like 5 or 6 wounds, and they have like not even moved her yet. That is, it's sold me. That's all I'm saying, is that's what sold me on it. I don't know.
From playing up against this thing, like, if I have to choose between getting rid of this and getting rid of that sigil, you can have that sigil all day long. I don't care. This thing's scary.
Yeah, and it's cast on a 7, so that even after like the embargo period is over, they need to roll an 8 unmodified, and that's I don't know. I would say that this is never a bad choice. I don't think it's unlimited power,
Mhm.
but I don't think it's ever a bad choice to put this in a Tzeentch army.
Especially with that rule of getting the free cast on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
never a bad choice to pop this thing in.
And I don't think we can ignore, the faction rules, personally.
Yep. No, I mean, well,
I'm
because
sure
these
that I'm gonna
spells are
go
tied
and
to it.
lie to myself and then do that later on in the stream if that happens and you catch it.
Call them out
Call me
after
out.
you smash that subscribe button.
All right. Let's move
Yeah.
on. The next Tzeentch deal is the Tome of Eyes. I'm gonna call this one bad but bad. 40 points.
But
So go ahead.
okay, yep. Well, but it's a little book buddy that follows you around. Can it be
is that
fun
for
but
you?
bad?
I mean, yeah, it can be fun but bad. Like book buddies are
Yeah.
cool.
Book buddies are cool.
Yeah, I don't think it's as. I think it's got less use than the eye, but the thing about fun is that the fun isn't necessarily how good it is. I just think it's not good.
With the reason why it's not good is
Okay,
it's
go
the
ahead.
same cost for cogs, but only the wizard that cast it can use it.
And casting value 5, so it's easy to remove. Sure, you can block chart, like do really niche like blocking with it, because it teleports around you as you move. But like all it gives you access to is like a spell that reduces bravery characteristic for the rest of the battle, and I don't know. I just don't need it. I don't need
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, because it's all, and it's a hoop spell, right? You got to cast a spell. It's got to be in range. Then on a D 3+, it suffers D3 wounds, and then for each model, like there's so many hoops. There's so many what ifs to make it work. I would put fun because of the book buddy, but it's not good.
No. Like you get to reroll spells, like it's the same cost as cogs. They missed the mark on the points. This needs to be 10. This needs to be
Sure.
10 points.
Yeah.
I would consider it 10. I would
10
put it
points.
I'd put it in and then cast it on my first turn when they give me first, and I need something to do.
Yeah.
I think that's about it.
For sure. I think that's legit.
Yeah. So I've passed my awful judgment on that guy. Fun but bad. Next up is Slaanesh or Slaanesh
Ugh.
or whatever.
They've got some cool endless spells. Like I'm not as excited about them as I was about Beastmen.
We're gonna go
some cool stuff.
We're gonna go Dreadful Visage, which I think might be the worst modern model in my opinion in the range. Like not Slaanesh, but like in the last since I started playing, which was the beginning of second, I think. I hate this model. I think it just looks bad.
You're not wrong.
It just
you're
looks
not wrong.
Bad. It looks so bad.
And it's the fact that they didn't even do anything cool with like the inside of the face on the back of it.
Yeah.
Like there's maybe something you could have done in there to make it really like unnerving or whatever, but no, it's just the inside of the mold.
Yeah, Sean Kelly, I think that in the realm of things that I'd rather be doing in Tzeentch, to call back to your comment there about it not being the same level as the Sigil, I agree. If we were to have like minutia levels within bad, I'd still put them both in bad because there's a million things I'd rather be doing than casting that Sigil as opposed to casting any of the great spells in the War Scrolls and the thing. Anyway, so back to the Dreadful Visage. So it's casting value 7. So this is 70 points. I think that we're on parity for the Wildfire Taurus. So we're like buckle in. This is going to be nearly unlimited power.
Nearly unlimited power.
Summoning within 12, moves 8. So you've got a 20-inch threat range. After it's moved, roll 6 dice against the closest unit within 6. So exactly the same as the Demonic Simulacrum, but fewer dice.
And significantly worse than the Wildfire Taurus, which we were talking about being point for point very similar.
Right. If it moves more than one such unit is equally close, you get a pick, blah, blah, blah. For each 4 up, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If the unit suffers any damage from this ability and they're not negated, they strike last. It's the Wildfire Taurus, but worse. Like, it's way worse.
The bad Fire Taurus.
It's also scary, so it subtracts 1 from bravery, which
There is
Does
a
anyone
lot
care
of
anymore?
stuff in Slaanesh that stacks with that. Like so within its book, even pipping one, like if you can pip one there and there's a command trait, there's a bunch of ways to add it up to make it effective. But in the grand scheme of endless spells, this thing is bad.
I'm gonna say bad but bad. What do you
I want
think?
to go with bad but bad.
That's right, bad but bad. It's it doesn't take a lot of rules changes to fall from near the pinnacle to being in the garbage bin. And apparently that's what it takes, is that it's not reliable. Uh you have to
There's there's so many other opportunities for always strikes last and order of stuff manipulating things from that book. You don't need this spell. It doesn't do the damage that one of the other spells does. Like it there's just nothing in it that it does well. It just does mediocre of the things that other things do for 70 points and a casting value 7.
right. Next up, the
Yes.
mesmerizing mirror, which I like the model. Let me just start out by saying that. Whatever we
Yeah.
decide, I think it's a cool model, and it might be one of the only models outside of like Lutos and the Keeper that I actually like in Slaanesh. It's a range that just doesn't speak to my heart, apparently. So it's casting value 6, range of 18. I don't think it moves. It just goes where you put it. But if a unit starts a normal move, run or retreat within 12, so starting, it suffers D3 mortal wounds if it finishes that move closer, unless it finishes that move closer to the end of the spell. So if you run away or stay equidistant, you take the damage. Slaanesh is immune.
Mhm.
What's really fun, gaze not into its depths. One great name again. You pick a hero within 6, and then you roll a number. You roll for each hero within 6. Excuse me. And how many dice do you roll?
6.
6
Right.
dice. Yeah, so roll 6 dice.
No. Yeah, roll 6 dice for each one. Yeah.
And then for
Slaanesh
each
loves
6,
the number 6.
yeah. So then for each 6 you roll, you multiply that by you just multiply it by itself. So if you roll 3, it's 3 times 3, 9 damage. 4 from 4 is 16. It's fun. I might say it's niche. Like I'm sure there's a but in Slaanesh, like when are you getting close enough to drop this and then hit a hero within 6 for 60 points?
Do you need to drop it, or can you use it as the thing that you throw in your front lines, and now your Blitzbarb archers get more time to harass and get you your depravity points?
But it doesn't affect units, just heroes.
It affects the units with the you have to move closer to it, and then you're getting more depravity. So if you're throwing out in your front line, maybe like off to the side. I would argue you said niche, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with it. Like I think there's some good reasons to take it, but you have to be taking it for this sort of build, and you got to know how to use it. Like it's definitely not unlimited power, and it's definitely not a always useful, always take sort of a deal. For sure.
We got an opinion from Sean Kelly here. Actually, the spell overall ranged 18. It's nice. He's been badly touched by it back in the day. I don't know. I like it just because like if you really need to kill heroes, you've got this. I mean, it's expensive at 60 points, but you can drop it and roll the dice to get lucky.
It has the potential.
It has the potential. It's not like some of the other stuff where you have the potential of doing something and like it's just D3 mortal wounds.
The fact that it doesn't move though means that if you don't do what you want to do on that initial cast, after that it's up to your opponent for them to get hurt by it. Like I look at that similar to the shackles, where like once it's down, cool, don't unbind it, just avoid it. And if you have to get within that 12, continue your same distance or creep in a half millimeter in an ellipses around it on your way.
Yeah, that like D3 mortal wounds from moving away is definitely a depravity generator. I don't know. Yeah, niche.
I would argue niche.
Yeah, niche. We've made a decision. So then, oops, too far. We move on to the spell that abused me once and then has never done anything to me ever again. The
Mhm.
Wheels of Excruciation at 80 points. The only thing excruciating about this spell is its point cost.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Put it within 6 and then moves 8. Ugh.
So short range.
Short range. Casting value 6.
Yeah.
After it's been moved, roll 6 dice for each unit that has any models that passed across. Not that it ended within, it has to pass across them. That 1 mortal wound for each roll that is less than its unmodified save characteristic. So it kills garbage.
It kills garbage.
Oh, that's because I play garbage all the time, so no wonder it did me wrong. I play clan rats.
It kills garbage, but it only kills up to 6 garbage. Right?
So bad.
It's so bad.
Bad.
It's
I don't even think this needs a conversation.
Fun.
Like you hear that description, like what are you doing?
Next. Moving on.
Let's see.
Skaven?
Yeah, your least favorite, my favorite.
Well, I don't know about my least favorite.
You always have bad things
but
to
it
say
very well
about
might be.
All right, Bell of Doom. Let's see here. I don't like it. So it can be moved 2d6, random movement, and can fly. Right. It can be. You don't have to move it. So let's remember that movement is not necessary. You casting value 5, so it goes away at like a, at nothing. Mr. Krabs. This is Mr. Krabs level of dispelling. A range of 13 inches. And then there's that 1 inch bubble around it, so you can't put it to a densely packed area, which is where you want to put it. After it has moved, so it has to move, but after it's moved, you roll 3d6, and on a 13, everything, including your units, take d3 mortal wounds within a range, 13 inches. And,
obligatory nonsense Skaven rule.
Yeah, so it goes away if you move it, so you don't want to move it, by the way. Then, just a second, let me clear my throat here.
But that's so. To talk in that point, you can roll the value, right, and then choose not to move it.
I don't think so, because it's not a move characteristic.
Okay.
Anyway,
maybe you're right.
Regardless, you don't want to move it because you have a chance of getting rid of it, and the boldness of despair. You're immune. You don't take battle shocks for your Skaven wholly within 13, so it's for rats. That's not great.
And it's more like wholly within 12 because you can't set it up within an inch.
Right, and then the subtract 1 from bravery characteristics of other units while they're just within 13, which is a non-rule. What's important here is that on a 5, they're just going to dispel it, and then you're not. You can't use this as your reliable battle shock aura immunity, and that's its whole job. So I'm going to say it's bad. It's not even fun.
Yeah, I would agree with that because there are a lot of other options to get ignoring battle shock in Skaven for different builds. Like if that's really your thing.
There used to be. There's only one other. There's only one other one. But you don't need it as bad as I feel like you used to. But that's
sure.
Like I've done pretty well without battle shock immunity since the new book came out.
Yep. No, fair enough. I think
it's
I would agree. Yep. Yeah, I would agree. Bad. Maybe if it was like 20 or 30 points, where it was hey, why not?
Nope. Not for any points. It doesn't do its job. It has a job and it can't do it.
Sure.
Like I'd rather use those points to bet on a triumph. It's just a better use. Next up is Vermintide. Vermintide I want to like, but it is bad Scuttletide. So it's 60 points.
Yeah.
It has a casting value 5, so Mr. Krabs is blowing him away with his magical prowess. Range of 18, and then it's a massive base, but you somehow have to make room for it around all your other models for an inch, and it moves 7. And after it's moved, the commanding player can pick one unit, not all the units, one unit within 3, and roll 13 dice for each 6 it's more mortal wound. In addition, roll 13 dice for each unit that finishes a normal move, a run, retreat, or charge move within 3 inches of this endless spell. So every time anything moves around it, it triggers it. So it makes you kind of want to stay away from it, but they'll just dispel it. Like at a 5.
It also
So you
doesn't
just gotta roll 6.
not affect Skaven.
So it also affects Skaven, but if you're a Skaven player, you're already used to the fact that you are your own worst enemy. Like all your stuff hurts you, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like as I play them, I just assume that all my stuff is gonna hurt me too. It's just bad Scuttletide. And at 60 points, you're already paying a lot for other things that are better. So it's not even fun. Because it doesn't have a cool mechanic. It's just a dumb mechanic. So
nor is even a fun model.
I'm going to go with bad but bad.
It's dumb. Yeah, bad but bad. Look at Skaven competing for the worst average score of spells. Look at him go.
Right. But then, the toxic lightning vortex. 80 points. So it's not a free meal. But casting value 8, so it's hard to remove, even though I always feel like people are removing it when I cast it. And a range of 13, so the first bit you place needs to be within range, but the other bits can then extend beyond that range. You set everything up 7 inches equidistant into a triangle because of rats. And if you haven't fought against this, you're living your best life. But what happens is that at the end of each movement phase, so that's yours and theirs, you measure for each unit how many of its models are within one or more of these little bits that go down, all these little warp lightning vortex pieces. On a base, if they're within 1, it's a 4-up. If they're within 6 of 2, it's a 3-up, and if they're within 6 of 3, it's a 2-up. So if they're basically in the middle of it, on that roll, you then roll damage. So there's a lot of steps here. A lot of things you're having to count. So it's a little bit of an accounting mess, but ultimately, if you do get over the hurdle and roll damage, you get D3 mortal wounds. But if you roll a 6 on that check that you did when you're trying to do all your wild stuff, it's D6 mortal wounds. And what makes it so powerful is the area is massive. It's hard to remove, and it can just pop off and remove stuff. And this has won me, I don't know, a lot of games. I've won a lot of games with Warp Lightning Vortex.
The fact that prior to the Purple Sun ascending to godhood, an entire faction, which is only allowed to take 1 spell, took this spell 104% of the time, puts it way up there. It is and did anything change in the new book on between this and its old version?
I think the points might have gone up, but to generally 80? Yeah, to 80. I think it used to be 70.
80 still.
I'm my experience with it has been so powerful. I want to say unlimited power, because you put this in a list and then the list just does better.
Yeah,
you've got such powerful casting with your Grey Seers.
Absolutely.
You've got a million spells.
It's an obnoxious screen too.
Yeah. People get afraid of it. I've won games because people just ran away from it. They should have just taken the damage. They get so scared. I had a guy that should have won our game just back his army back into his corner because he was just trying to get away from the damage that it was putting out. And it encourages bad decision making. It controls huge areas. I don't know. Unlimited power. Maybe that's my rat speaking, but
no, I agree with it. It's one of the scariest spells out there, hands down. And at that higher casting value, it could stick around all game.
It can, and I don't know. It's just so good.
It's super good.
So next up is a Darkfire Demon Rift. We don't have leaks for the new endless spells, so we're just going to look at these. I don't want to spend too much time on them because they're changing so soon.
Yeah, that's fair.
Darkfire Demon Rift at 100 points, I already hate it. Its summoning is 7, so it's not awful. Range 9 and 9, so it's got that 18-inch threat range. Billowing Energies. It's pretty. So they nerfed this one. It used to be better. After this endless spell moved, roll a dice for each unit that has any models that passed across. And on a 2-up, it does D3 mortal wounds, and it just motorboats around the field, right?
Mhm.
You add 1 to the number of mortal wounds caused by the endless spell for each other endless spell within 12. It's just
Whatever.
it's
Yeah.
they get
It's
removed so quickly that I don't have faith in it.
yep.
It used to be endless spells and wizards, and then it was worth its points. Uh, so I'm gonna say
For 100 points for
bad,
all
bad.
the yep. 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 Sounds good.
Okay. Next up is in my opinion, whatever that's worth, the most complicated. Yeah, Sean Kelly, the Darkfire demon used to be outrageous, but it took one rule, like one thing. They just took wizards off, and all of a sudden it's garbage. It's a shame. I want it to be good, and I'm excited to see what
Well,
these look like in the next book.
was it a combination of that and the change to the spell portal, right?
Say that again.
Wasn't there some nonsense with the spell portal? So you cast this thing in your army that's got all of your like wizardy things, and then you launch it with the spell portal when it's moved. But the spell portals change, I think, also backed this thing down a little bit.
Yeah, it's seen some changes. Um,
Sure.
anyway, the Darkfire Demon Rift, powered by atrocity, is the most awful like accounting garbage I have ever run across. I think in the game. Um, so it's got a casting value 5, so everyone can just pull it. This is Mr. Krabs, just like flicks it off the field. And it has a range of 6 and doesn't move, so it's very very like point blank. And then you get out your spreadsheet because empowered by atrocity, it's empowered by accounting. It's empowered by accounting. You keep track of the number of models that are slain within 12 inches of the endless spell each turn, so each player turn. And then at the end of each player turn, roll a die for each model that was slain. So each like that number, you roll that many die. But for each 3-up that you roll, the player whose turn is taking place, so whoever's turn it is, must pick one friendly Slaves to Darkness unit wholly within 18 of the endless spell, and they get +1 attacks, and it can't affect the same unit twice. So what happens is that you've got you've got the buffs that came in on my turn and the buffs that came in on your turn, and you're having to track them separately because they can be affected by the spell in different turns, just not the same turn multiple times. So you can have up to 2 to attack on your Slave to Darkness units, but they have to not dispel it, and then they have to. It's I don't like it just because it's so hard to keep track of, and it's
on top of that, like it's so much diminishing returns, right? Like, cool, I killed 15 guys. Do I have 15 units within range of this? No. Like, you could have capped it at 3, and that's probably close to the most you're ever going to get. It's needlessly complicated without the potential for all that complication really being cool.
Right, because it's just near a bunch of wizards anyway, because it's got a 6-inch range. Anyway, I'm gonna go with bad but bad because I'm not even having fun with that. Like, I'm having to explain what it's doing every turn and explaining why I have some tokens come off, and we gotta know which. Like, okay, this is your token, this is my token, and oh, you got a double turn, so then your token comes back, but not my token, even though it was 2 turns ago. It's just
Yep.
bad.
If there was a not fun but bad,
not fun but bad.
Yeah, it could sit down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. Like I've never seen it on the field, and looking at it, I'm not worried about it because I mostly run monsters and stuff. If you kill my one monster, now you've got your guys on your side of the field with +1 of attack.
Right.
Cool. I'm glad you paid so many points for that, buddy.
Yeah. So next up, endless spells, Realm Scourge, Rupture. Another one that I want to like. This is the Aether Void Pendulum, but long rather than like thin. Like it's literally the same mechanic where you push it into them in one direction, longwise rather than edgewise. So it's got a different footprint, but it's still bad. So it's 7 casting, so at least you can't dispel it easily. But 9 and 9, so 18-inch threat range. And what happens is that after it's moved, you roll a dice for anything it's moved across and within one, so at least you don't have to, get it over stuff. On a 2-up, D3 mortal wounds. And their move characteristic is halved. So it's not at 85 points, there's just so much better in the book to be taking than
85 points. And only a 9-inch move again. That's all of these pass
they just get out of the way. They just get out of the way.
Exactly. And for anyone wondering about the beautiful artwork that we have for the spell, GW has a lot of models, it turns out, that they don't have individual pictures for. You gotta crop them out of a cluster shot of this whole box, and some of these got kind of ugly.
Oh man, I forgot to give you credit for putting this together at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. All right.
We owe this to Shannon, so thank you, Shannon.
Yeah, of course.
And thank you for going to that trouble, so I can just put that in the bad but bad.
There you go. Sounds good to me. Bad but bad. Moving on.
All right, moving on into death.
Wait a second. Does that puts them down below Skaven? Maybe we got to put that in unlimited power.
It's probably not going to be for long, right?
Fair enough.
Like the new changes that they have done for slaves are so good, and they're not like OP. At least as far as I can tell, they're just good. It's like the dream. I cannot wait to play Slaves to Darkness. Going into it's going to be me and literally everybody's going to be playing slaves. It's going to be crowded. It's going to be a crowded bar. We're moving on into the Cadaverous Barricade, where we have opposite opinions.
Grand Alliance Death, probably best army in the game. Flesh Eater Courts, jumping up there. Cadaverous Barricade. Not even talking about the spell. Bad but bad. But let's talk about the spell. So 40 points, so it's not as expensive as some of these other kind of dumb things that we've seen, but it's still a lot. Compared to your Horrorghast and your Cogs and all your better options, it's a lot. And Flesh Eater Courts needs their magic, so you can't throw away spells on something dumb. Everything needs to go into something. Castamelia 5, so you can just you can just get rid of it. But the range is 24. So it does fix the problem that all these other little wall things have, which is that you can actually set it up where you want it, which is nice. But it's got this weird thing where you set it up and it becomes terrain, which means you can monstrous rampage it into nothing because this, book is old. I can't remember if Flesh Eater Courts is the second or the third oldest book at this point. So there's some jankiness for sure. Its rule is Grasping Hands. If a model starts this move within 3 inches of this terrain feature, have the distance they can move when it makes that move. Death's not affected. It doesn't do damage. It just halves they can move, which is kind of cool because it means that it affects random movement things. Other ones that just change the movement value or whatever don't necessarily. But Castamelia 5, the weird fact that it's terrain, because it does nothing for it. It doesn't mean you can't get rid of it. You obviously can't get all your models on it and get cover. What is the point of that? Why did you waste that ink and that bit of tree carcass that you printed it on to do that?
I know it's secret use. I know it's secret use. It is do you have to pick on Desecrate their lands? You have to pick the terrain feature at the beginning of the hero phase?
Correct. Yeah.
I was going to say, oh man, you could do that, but then it has to survive at least.
It could have been Tzeentch.
Yeah, it could have been Tzeentch. But at a 5, no. Mr. Krabs is denying that one.
Yeah.
I think it's fun because it's terrain, and that's apparently all it takes for me to think it's fun. The fact that they can stomp it and make it nothing, even less nothing, is so exciting to me, despite the fact that on a 5 they can just get rid of it anyway. I'll concede.
Take your generosity.
I'll concede and say that it's a bad because there's really nothing redeeming about it.
Not a darn thing. It just, if it was a higher casting value, so it was harder to deal with, and maybe for that initial throw it out there. But the problem is that anything that's actually alpha striking you isn't moving. It's all teleporting. So it just doesn't matter in this current edition.
Yeah.
Chalice of Ursharon.
All right, tell us about it. Sing us the song of your
Oh,
people.
okay. So not only is the lore on it amazing and fantastic, and I like the model and all this stuff is great, blah 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 blah. 50 points. You cast on a 6, set it up within 24 inches. Like you got to say, if you got going to talk about one thing about Feck, man, they got some reach to them. All of their good spells are like 24-inch casting range. It's so good, so good. It's not predatory, so it doesn't move, but it also means that you can cast multiple endless spells because the rule on your endless spells is that a wizard can only control one predatory at a time. So you can't cast multiple ones in the same phase, but your wizard could then next turn do another thing. So you can start with your cogs, and then you can move on to your chalice. But the big thing is that whenever something dies, friend or foe, within 12 inches of it, you put a pip next to it. And that's an unlimited number it can go up to, which is great because ghouls are awful. And you're going to fill the cup with ghouls. Then, at the end of, is it the end of the battle shock? At the end of each turn, so after battle shock, the very last thing that happens, you roll each of those dice, and on every 4 up, you can either heal a wound from one Flesh Eater Quartz model within, not wholly within, 12 inches of this thing, or bring back a ghoul, because it's wounds characteristic 1 Flesh Eater Quartz, so they're talking about ghouls, wholly within 12 inches onto a unit that's there. So your ghoul unit can run in there and get killed down to 2 guys, and as long as you lost 28 guys and they lost 28 guys, you might come back to full health. But the better use for it is to put it down next to a Terrorgeist charge, because if you get hit back and you take 12 wounds, I guarantee you that Terrorgeist, as long as it's going into infantry, has killed 12 models, and you might go right back to full health. It is so good. Its limiting factor is that it can only be taken with Flesh Eater Quartz. If you were to put this in any other list, it would be considered broken.
Right. So, I don't see it in every Feck list. Does that make it never a bad choice over unlimited power?
I could agree with that. I would say never a bad choice, because there's no way you can build Feck in which it wouldn't be useful. I mean, unless you went some sort of monstrous infantry, the crypt horrors and whatever focused, and you didn't have any ghouls and you didn't have any monsters. But I think the reason why you don't see it in every list is because the magic is so vital to making Feck work that throwing into that one other spell can be a sacrifice of adding 3 attacks to a Terrorgeist, right?
Right.
I would argue it for that never a bad choice.
Perfect. On the opposite end of the spectrum, I think we're going to see Corpse Mare Stampede, whose model I like. I like that, like them charging out of the ground looks super
It's
cool.
so cool. And
80 points,
like
so it's more than a Wildfire Taurus, so this has got to be better, right?
Yeah. And on the model, the zombie horses, there's so much potential for them to do something cool effect with the zombie horses, and they're like, nah, endless spell that you're never going to take.
Right.
Sorry, go on.
So just casting value 7, 3d6 move. So this is sounding like the faction-specific Ravenex Gnashing Jaws. Let's see. So set up. Where's the range? Oh, the casting range is 3d6. It's not even a move.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's
it moves
really
12.
weird.
It's reliable movement. It's unreliable
set
casting
up
range.
as 3d6. Okay.
If
your
wizard's not in the front row, you could fail to cast this by rolling triple ones and not being able to put that base down, because it's a decent sized base.
Yeah. So after it's moved, roll 5 dice for each unit that has any models that passed across. Not that it ends nearby, so it's the bad version. Each roll that is more than the unit's wound characteristic, this suffers 1 mortal wound. Oh, so the best you're talking about 5 mortals for 80 points on a random movement?
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough said?
Yeah, it's
bad but bad's
the,
filling up, brother.
Yeah, nope. I gotta agree with you. The bad but bad. I've never taken it. I did paint it because it's cool.
Yeah.
But I've never taken it. I've at least taken the barricade and never cast it, but I've never taken the Stampede.
Fair enough. Moving on to Nighthaunt. I think the Mortalis Terminexus is really good.
Oh, it's super good. I've been
85 points.
Paddled by that.
Yeah, 85 points is real. But 12-inch setup and 8-inch move. So you're talking about a 20-inch threat range. On top of its damage range, which is another 6 inches, and it's just within, not wholly. So you're looking at a 26-inch threat range on this thing, and that maybe a little bit more because I don't know. Anyway, it's got a big area, a little bit over 12 inches. It's got a base that you measure from, but we'll say a 13-inch diameter, and they get to choose to either reverse time or hasten time. If they reverse time, they heal D3 wounds allocated to each unit within 6 at the end of the spell, which is not like friendly, like anybody, enemy or friendly. But the real spice is the hasten time, where on a 2-up for everything nearby, it's D3 mortal wounds, and that you just push that into their army and you just start dealing damage. And it goes off in a 6, so it's a little bit harder to dispel. It's fast, it has a big range, and it's got dual use,
Right.
and it's super reliable on a 2-up. So this is like everything that almost everything that I like about the Sigil of Tzeentch, except better, because it moves. The area isn't quite as big, but it's reliable on a 2-up rather than a 4-up. And like you can heal yourself with it.
Yeah, with healing yourself with it, it is a infinitely better Emerald Lifeswarm.
Yeah, it's a better Emerald. It's like if you took the best parts of Emerald Lifeswarm and the best ideas of the Sigil of Tzeentch and made one spell out of it, you'd get the Mortalis Terminexus.
It's so good.
I want to say it's unlimited power.
I would put it up there too. Yeah,
right.
for certain, because you can put it back in nested characters and just rock it, or you can bomb it, and even if just that first turn, if you can get it within range of, let's say, 5 units, if you do 10 mortal wounds on a single spell cast, sweet, great, that's awesome.
I love it. I love that spell.
Excuse me. So good.
Even at 85 points, even at like 5 less than the purple fun, I think it's worth it because of its utility. You can keep it back in your backfield and heal, and then when they come into you, you can just show it up and let them eat mortal wounds. Sean Kelly got a take here. It's all right. Burning Head and Lifeswarm. So I think it's a better example, is that it's just like a little burning head, but it doesn't go away.
And double the range of the burning head.
He does point out that Lifeswarm returns models, but that one does not. So it really is kind of your hero castle heal.
But Nighthaunt has so many ways to return models to things that need models returned. What
true.
they need is the proper heal that this provides to their characters.
Big AoE, like reliable. You're not rolling that 2-up for that. You just get D3 on all your heroes.
Absolutely.
I've had
so good.
I've warp lightning vortexed a Nighthaunt castle, and then all the heroes lived except for maybe one, but then they were all back at full health because I couldn't get rid of the Terminexus. It's just, I felt it.
It's so good.
It's so good anti-chip.
And looking at that utility, if you think about it as being 2 spells for the price of 1, it's roughly 40 points for either the damage or 40 points for the healing. You just can't have them both in the field at the same time.
Yeah. The fact that you can get it off in one cast and it's harder to remove than, I don't know. I just like the efficiency of being able to save your endless spells and save your casts, because there are some good spells in Nighthaunt.
Is this the only spell that we've come across that ends in a 5 for its point cost?
I don't think so. I haven't been memorizing them, but
I
it's
also
rare.
haven't been.
It's rare.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So we'll move on. That's our hot take. Flame us in the comments if you disagree. The Shyish Reaper. This is like the Aether Void Pendulum. Also, just like, this is a bad trend where you make something like the Aether Void Pendulum and then it's just bad because the Aether Void Pendulum didn't start from a good spot. It has casting range of 6 and a move of 8. So you're looking at a brisk 14-inch threat range on the first turn, which is not enough. What makes it special is that unlike the both the previous incarnations of this spell, you can change its direction. So it's whipping around. It's Tokyo drifting. But it is. You don't have to roll for it. It is just D3 mortal wounds. And is it or
no? It's an elite hunter. You have to roll higher than their save value.
Oh yeah. Roll 2 dice for each unit it passed across.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I don't know. We don't.
It's not only is it
70 points.
It's 70 points. It's based off of something that we were like, no, go down to the base of the pyramid. Let's start off at the bottom. But also, then it's situational and it's an elite hunter. It is essentially worthless against ghouls, and not obviously we should be like really holding things to how well can it kill ghouls, but you have to roll 6s with them being terrified to even do damage to ghouls. It's situational. It's a weird move anything, and it's super expensive.
I'm not even having fun doing it.
You're not having fun doing it, and you could be casting the Terminexus.
You could just be casting that Terminexus. I'm going to have to roll back a statement that I made earlier about something being the ugliest model in modern Warhammer.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say that maybe it's not that Visage, though it's like the Visage is number 2 worst. Vault of Souls is so stupid.
Okay. Right.
It's like little wormy worms coming out of a chest. It's like awkwardly propped on top of just, I don't know, whatever they had in CAD. They just clipped it off, stuck it to the bottom of this chest, and was like, you want to make it look cool? It's the end of the day. Just stick some heads on these worms. It'll be good enough. No one's going to take it anyway. We'll just make the rules back.
There's an old animated movie. It's like Scooby-Doo and it's like the box of 1,000 haunts or whatever, and it literally looks
this is big Scooby-Doo
just
energy.
like it. It's totally Scooby-Doo energy. But the thing is that some people love it for that. Like they're playing their big, beautiful ghost army, and they're like, but also here are my silly ghosts.
Yeah, here's the box. They just live in this one box.
Right?
They cost 85 points. It's hard to keep them in there. They are incorporeal. It was an expensive box. So I don't want to get too far into this. This is a 6/8, so 14-inch threat range.
Yep.
It is predatory, so your dumb box is floating around. After it's moved, you roll a die for each model within 6 of it. Each model, not each unit, each individual model. So I'm gonna charge my dumb clan rats in there just to make your life awful, because you got to track these rolls model by model. Add 1 to the roll if that model's unit is terrified. On a 6-up, they suffer a mortal wound. Oh, but we're not done yet. These are accounting Scooby-Doo ghosts. When they pull back the ghost mask, it's just accountants underneath. It's 5 accountants. You keep track of the number of wounds caused by a spell. If the total is 10 or more, at the end of any phase, roll a die for each unit within 6 of the end of the spell. Add 1 to the roll if they're terrified. On a 2-up, that unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the roll, and this endless spell is dispelled. So I think that only
it has the potential in the right weird situation to just nuke a character. But that situation is you casting the spell after paying a ton of points for it, throwing it into a crappy little unit, farming off that crappy unit, and then rolling those dice. And
they have to be like you have to do it on the right turn, because there's no like waiting. It's just like, okay, we hit the number. Am I near the target? Like, no.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
This is also bad, but bad. I'm sorry that I spent this time in my life reading that spell.
We need a category that says, "Why are you forcing me to do math?"
Yeah.
We could have thrown 2 spells in there already.
Okay, on to some exciting spells, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
OBR has some good endless spells. As the person who recently came into some OBR, would you like to talk about the Bone-Tide Shrieker?
Would love to talk about this probably also kind of terrible model. I mean, if we're being honest,
you're right.
A little ugly.
I don't,
not great.
Yeah, like the weird 2-legged like mist coming off. They've all got like these weird faces. But I overlook all of that because it's always been good, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So
it's
50 points.
Way better than it used to be.
Its casting value is low, which is kind of sad.
Yeah.
Right? Because with that new heroic action, if you got a Mortison, he could just be like, this. Make it a casting value 11. Have fun with it. Range of 12, can't set it up on top of something else, blah, 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 blah. Moves 8 inches, so it's got a threat range of 20 as far as its movement. But then you get your Horrorghast effect, no Inspiring Presence or Rally command, so a little better than Horrorghast, because Rally is thrown in too. It's the Dirge Horn, if you will.
Or no, the Ravening
within
Direfleck.
12.
That's the one that
correct.
does the rally.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, Dirge Horn is the -8. Yeah. While they are within 12, not wholly within, and it doesn't affect Ossiarch Bonereapers. So again, automatically something that is super great, super useful, especially Rally, being able to shut that down. And then it also has no escape. Add 1 to hit rolls for attacks made by Ossiarch Bonereaper units, the target unit within 12. So not only are you saying you're not going to get Inspiring Presence, you're not going to get to Rally, I'm going to hit you harder. This is better Horrorghast for certain. Its only downside is that 5 casting value. You can blow it off the board.
Right. Where do you feel like that places it?
I'd put it up in the never a bad choice. Because
I agree.
Awesome. Perfect. Yes, you can get rid of it on a 5, but the thing is that if you just time it right, and you're like, I'm throwing it in now with the charge, if it did its job and it got rid of a unit that would have stuck around, cool.
Sorry, I just read some back and forth in the chat. The question was, how does this work in OBR versus OBR? Sean's simple reaction was, it sucks then, my friend. Then it sucks. I don't think it sucks. I think then you've got a +1 to hit. I think, is it friendly only? I've still got it up on my other screen.
No, it's not friendly only.
Ossiarch Bonereapers. Yeah, if you're, then you just don't cast it, maybe. I don't know. It depends if they're hitting you with minuses and you really need it, and you want to just keep it in your back lines. Is it wholly within? No, it's just within. I don't know.
Just within.
You got to be. You can make little trails of Bonereapers, Vortex Guard down to it, so you can still make it yours. You just have to play around it. Anyway, I still think it's just never a bad choice because of that. You can play around it in the mirror match.
Absolutely.
Next up is the third worst model in Age of Sigmar.
Oh, you're not wrong.
I mean, he's like a little stage actor. He's got his hand up high. He's here to do a song and dance, and he's also made of weird bones.
You're right.
It's everybody's favorite. It's the Nightmare Predator at 60 points.
Mm-hmm.
Casting value 7. Excuse me. Range of 6, so short range.
But good casting value.
But a good casting value, so he's hard to take off, which is what you want because he's coming after somebody. He's got a called target, called shot. He's Babe Ruth in it, and Babe Ruth can't easily unbind it. So he's predatory. Sadly, his move is 2d6, which it's, I don't know. It can lure your
never great.
Yeah, it's never great. It can lure somebody into a false sense of security where all of a sudden this thing just lurches forward 12 inches. But 12 inches isn't a ton, especially when you're starting 6 inches and your average roll is going to be 7. So on average, you're moving 13 inches, which is not great. So what's it do? You pick a hero as its prey, and if you destroy that hero, if you destroy the prey, the spell's dispelled. It's Death Incarnate, though it doesn't look like it. It looks like Fabulousness Incarnate. After the endless spell's moved, roll a dice for each unit within 3 inches, and on 2 up, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. So a little mobile Burning Head for a lot more, for 3 times the cost.
So much more.
But the ability has no effect on Ossiarch Bonereaper units, and is there no more rule about it having to move towards the person and dealing D6? It's just...
It still has that. It does D6 instead of D3 if it's the prey, and that's it. It's the only difference.
Oh, I missed that part. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, it does
Yep.
d6 to the prey. Um, I at 60 points, no. At 40 points, probably. Um, how do you feel about it? Where would you place this one? I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, I would put it under niche because if you can throw it on a mobile caster, like if you put it on Archon or you put it on like or if you have Nagash summon it up or something like that, where you are upfield already and you're dropping it as a bomb that is just trying to do D3 mortal wounds to everything around it, and if you get to your prey bonus, then cool. But it you have to have a target for it to go after for its prey that it actually has the potential to kill. I don't love it.
Yeah, not the points.
Yeah.
There's
No,
there's
not
there's
for the
like
points.
yeah, there's uses for it. Justin, one of these days, if I ever get my OBR and a gash to stream quality, which isn't super high, can't see a ton of stuff, ton of detail. I've got an OBR list that I want to showcase that I think has some play, and it's using the next spell. Thanks for that intro.
Oh wow.
It doesn't.
What a segue.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't rely on it. I just put it in because I thought it was an interesting ad.
Yep.
At 50 points, it's probably not worth it. But
Mm.
we have the Soul Stealer Carrion, which is another bone construct that I actually think this one looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Whatever that's worth.
They did better on this one for sure.
Yeah. So walk us through it.
Yeah. So like you said, 50 points. Casting value of 7. You can pop it anywhere on the battlefield visible to the caster, which is sort of a weird thing when you read the rest of the rules on it, because anywhere it is visible to the caster. So does that mean just put it wherever you want?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
I think that when you cast it, it's everywhere. Like everywhere is invisible. You can't cast it behind a wall, for example.
sure, yeah.
It's your
I
way
could
to
see
see around
someone.
walls.
I could see someone being really annoying and saying, "I can cast this wherever I want because where
Yeah.
it sees, the caster sees." Anyway, um, we've kind of skipped over it. Ossiarch have got this bonded spell ability, which is essentially they don't have a range to their endless spells, which is cool. It's great. It
It's
can move
really
8
important
inches.
for this specific spell
For
because
this specific one.
you're very likely or possible to drop this outside of 30.
Absolutely. Yep. It can move 8 inches. It flies. So it's got the Soul Thief. At the end of each phase, the commanding player must roll a dice if any chaos, destruction, or order models are slain within 6 inches. So it doesn't affect death on this. Within 6 inches of the spell. On a 1 to 2, they can heal 1 wound allocated to the model bonded to this endless spell. So you can send it out there, watch what's getting shot by your catapults or whatever, heal up. On a 3 to 4, each non-death unit within 6 inches of this endless spell takes a mortal wound. And on a 5 to 6, both things happen.
Yep.
So not bad. I mean, it's only one. It's one mortal wound that you're doing everything, and it's one wound you're healing. It's not for every unit that does it. It's just if anyone's were done. So that degrades a little bit. And then second sight, it gives vision.
Right.
Which that can be massive for sure, especially being able to just be like, yeah, I set it up in the far corner, and now here comes Nagash with 15 arcane bolts. Ha 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 ha! I started blasting.
Right.
For sure.
I think it's just a nice little like heal on top of Nagash, on top of improving his line of sight. So if he charged next to a wall, somebody's hiding on the other side that he can't see, he can still target them with his arcane bolt blasts. I don't think it's worth it at 50 points. I would call it fun but bad. What do you think?
I'm trying to think if I can push it to niche.
I mean, that's a niche use, like specifically for
It is a
Nagash.
niche. It is a niche use, but
is it worth 50
I
points? In an army
no,
that struggles with points.
I think you're right. Fun but bad. I think if you could, excuse me, do the skink rule where you could cast the spell from it.
Yeah.
Then it would be great.
It'd be
That'd
unlimited
be fantastic.
power.
Absolutely. But
that'd be
yeah,
too good.
fun.
Immediately
Fun
too
but
good.
bad. Immediately too good. Fun but bad. That's good. That works for me. And that wraps up the expansive collection of death armies.
And now on to the only faction with 4 endless spells.
Oh yeah.
And I know at least one of these is good.
I would agree with that. I would say one of these is good. I wouldn't even say at least.
2.
I'd say
Actually,
one.
say 2. I'd say 2 are good.
All right. Well, hey, we got
Hot
some
take.
discussion coming up.
Hot take.
Yeah.
Gloomspite Gitz, Malevolent Moon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. Casting value 6, range of 6, move 8. So we got that classic 14-inch, no good threat range. Malevolent intentions, so you can just feel its intentions. This is more than just your bad mechanic tracking token. This is actually a potential game piece. That's I only ever see people using it to track where the bad moon is at. But apparently it can also play the game. After the endless spell is moved, roll a die for each unit that has any models that passed across but not ended near. On a 2-up, they suffer D3 mortal wounds. Are we tired of hearing that? I am. Moon of Ill Omen. Subtract 1 from casting rolls for wizards within 9. The spell. It's not enemy, so it's both your gets too. Yep. Subtract 2 from casting rolls if they are within 3 of this endless spell. There it is. At the end, it gets wizards are not affected by that. So at least there's that. But on a casting roll of 6, if you're trying to get into like important wizards, they probably just dispel this as it creeps up the board at its glacial pace.
Yeah, you're still after the whole first turn, assuming you went first. You're across no man's land, and still not probably into wizards. You're just up to front line. Like, yuck. No.
Yeah, I agree with Sean Kelly in chat that at 30 points it'd be worth considering as like a niche little piece.
Little anti-magic.
Yeah, a little anti-magic tech, even if it's harder to deliver. I'm not as familiar with the Gitz, but I just can't think of any cases where it's easy to get their heroes up the board. Where does that put it? I don't know if it's bad, but bad.
I would say that it's hard to make anything in this list bad, but bad because it's Gitz. So it's at least fun.
It's at least fun. Well, I don't know. I think that potential -2 to cast. Yeah, it could be pretty. It could still. I think it could still find use, but at 60 points, I don't know. I want to say at 60 points. I want to say bad, but bad.
I still hold fun but bad.
Fun but bad.
Cause Gitz.
All right, because Gitz.
Yeah.
Then Mork's Mighty Mushroom, 40 points. This used to be much more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So range or value 6, casting range is random 66. It is
so random.
Very, 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 very wide range, but it's not nothing.
No.
Because what happens is at the start of the shooting phase, so you can like pick targets and with all of your bad shooters, or your rocket Troggoth rock chucking, with the knowledge of how much this did. Roll a number of dice for each unit that is just within 8 of the endless spell, equal to the number of models in that unit that are within 8. For each 5-up, it's 1 mortal wound. You drop this in the middle of like a horde army, and it's nothing personal, kid. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little mushroom cloud, not a fungus.
Yeah, it is as advertised. I think at 40 points, I think it can be useful. I don't think it's never a bad choice. Because there's not enough, it's not like there's troops everywhere.
And it's a random range.
The random range.
You could roll 6 inches for the range every time, and it does affect your own guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it can be useful. I've seen it win games. But I've you gotta play smart. This is something that I would charge into every time. This is just another chains for me.
Yep.
I charge straight all my gobos straight into it. You good with can be useful?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I like this spell.
Yeah.
It just has that customary Gitz randomness that keeps it from being great.
One of these days, One of these days gets. All right, let's look at
We'll
a
see.
war scroll that's has no business being as long as it is. I love the model.
Yeah,
I think it looks
yeah.
great. For some
Hmm.
reason, I like that one. Have to go hot take. Blood Snake for Doc is bad, but fun for a mini niche. Oh, that's interesting. Well, we're almost there, Justin. Um, so the Scuttle Tide. Do you want to walk us through this 10,000 years of War Scroll?
Sure. So, in the beginning, it was 60 points, which is probably already a big mark against it. And the spell, cast Amelia of 5, so you can blow it off the table if you want. Range of 1 inch. It's another book buddy. You get to set it up next to your wizard, right? You pop it down. It's got to be more than 1 inch. Wait.
From other models.
If successfully cast, set up to send the spell within range and visible to the caster, but more than 1 inch from all other models. Can you cast the spell?
No. As it's written, no, you can't.
Okay, so it's already at fun but bad. Only Gloomspite Gitz can summon it, blah, 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 blah. You can't do it if you're in a garrison. You're linked to this pot, so the guy that casts it is tied to it. Again, it's got the little book buddy sort of play mechanic. Skipping over that page. Next, Blessings of the Cauldron. You can reroll your casting, dispelling, and unbinding rolls for the model that summoned this one, which does give it a little bit of an advantage over cogs, because it's also dispelling and unbinding. It's not just casting. Kind of cool. In addition, they know all the spells from the lore of the Moon Clans. Also kind of great. Like, if this thing was what Book Buddy was,
right,
then it would be ridiculous. That'd be unlimited power, for sure, to have the whole lore of Tzeentch on your caster. Blood Slither Pact. You gotta throw a unit within 3 inches of the model into the pot at the start of every hero of your own hero phase to take D3 mortal wounds to keep it running. If there is no other unit but your wizard takes the damage, and if your wizard dies, the pot goes away.
right.
So
Kelly makes a good call out that you put it on the Trog caster, and then you prick a Trog, and the Trog, can regen.
sure.
So it's
And
just even more living for the already tough army.
And if you could set it up within 1 inch of that Trog while being 1 inch away from that Trog, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But
we'll just assume that you can cast it, right?
Yeah.
Assuming that
we'll assume they mean everybody but the wizard that cast it.
Right. So anyway, I don't know. I think it's niche. I think that Sean really called out a niche use for it. It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, for certain. And to do that, it's got to either be the Forge World Segi Grandma or Arcane Tome, right? Like those are your two shouts.
Those are your two Trog shouts, anyway.
Yeah.
Next up, I think Scuttle Tide is. I wouldn't say it's underrated because I've never heard anyone say a bad thing about it.
Does it beat the Ossiarch Bonereaper models for your favorite model ever made by GW though? Look at that thing.
I do hate it, but not as much as I hate those other things. Like this just looks lazy. Like I'm disappointed when I see it, but I'm not like mad.
Okay.
So
it's
cast
just
value
a texture
7
roller on top of some green stuff.
Exactly. It's lazy. But like they got a fourth spell. This one was they had extra like space on the print, and so they're like, oh, we'll just give them a fourth one,
right?
And then it ended up being good. So 70 points, 7 casts, so it's it's not nothing to get rid of. A range of 6 inches, and you add 1 to casting rolls for the spell if the caster is a Spiderfang wizard, so that can be effective 6 to get out. If successfully cast, you put it within range of a terrain feature. The range is 6 inches of a terrain feature, right? On the board, as far as I can tell. That's how I understand it works. And then after it has moved, you pick 1 unit within 1, and roll 6 die for every 5 up. It's a mortal wound. In addition, each time somebody finishes a normal move or charge within 6 of the endless spell, for each 5 up that suffers 1 mortal wound. So it's just Vermintide but better, or Vermintide is this but worse. I think it can be useful. I don't think it's just unlimited value or anything, but because
Can be useful, huh?
I mean, would you go with never a bad choice?
No, 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 no. That's not the direction that I would slide it.
I mean, I've
For
seen, like,
sure.
this really drives you away because you can't end movement, you can't end your moves nearby it, or else you start taking these mortal wounds, and it's especially potent against. I don't know. It's just 2 mortal wounds on average, I think, against your
Correct. Yeah.
heroes. Um, I like it. I think it's really the range of just dumping it in their backlines, dumping it anywhere that you want to block. And it's a great blocker. You can put it in front of your lines. It's not 5, so they can't just lift it reliably anyway. Um, I mean, I'm edging towards never a bad choice.
Yeah. Mm, I don't know about never a bad choice.
All right, we'll
I
go
mean,
with can be useful.
maybe. Yeah, let's go with can be useful. I just wish it did more. Either a little more damage in the back line, or something that like reduced their movement so that it
Right.
actually like went in. Because as it is right now, walk away from it.
Right. Right.
Like just get away from it.
We're on the home stretch here.
Yeah.
We're moving on to, so that's the one destruction army that has any of the spells. We're going on Daughters of Khaine. Let's see
Right.
here. They've only got one endless, no, two endless spells, because one of
Two
their
endless, yeah.
one of their things is an invocation. It's a Blade Wind, 50 points, casting 6, range 9, move 12. So you're looking at 21-inch of movement. And after it's moved, you roll a dice for anything that it moved across and ended nearby. And on a 2-up, it suffers 1 mortal wound. In addition, do not apply cover modifier to save rolls for attacks that target units within 12 inches of this in the spell. It's garbage.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's awful. We don't even have to talk about it. It's just straight to the bad, but bad.
Bad, but bad.
Because
it's not fun.
Cover isn't winning any games right now. I would love for cover to be a thing and that to be relevant, but
sure.
Yeah, you've never seen it, Sean, because you just heard the rules. You know why. Next up is the hot take that Justin had, chat, that this is that the Bloodrack Viper is niche. I agree that that's hot because I would say that this is unlimited power. So, 80 points.
I don't know about unlimited.
Yeah, 80 points. I've just seen it just ruin lives. Sure. It can be moved 9 inches. Summoning 7, so you can't just lift it, and casting range 9, so its threat range is 18. It's a monster of blood, so at the end of the charge phase, you can do monstrous actions with it, but only which one? Stomp and Smash
and Demolish.
So
yeah.
It can do a stomp for you if you don't want to stomp with Morathi, because you're usually playing Morathi. After that, Fanged Strike. Scroll down here. This is really where it's at. The commanding player must pick one unit within 1 inch of it and roll 3 dice. For each roll that is equal to or greater than the unit's wounds characteristic, one model in that unit is slain. That's like they don't get to. It's not combat where you eat stuff and then they can activate away from you. You can just push that in, cut their unit in half, and then battle. They have to pick up the rest of it. And I don't know, it's not even like it's not double the characteristic, it's just equal to or greater, so it's the best version of that. So like you walk up to 2 wound infantry and you just cut them in half. You walk up to like 4-up infantry and you're 50% chance to just pick those guys up, and that's going to be relevant. Absolutely. I think when the ogre book comes out, you've got all those 4 wound infantry running around.
I don't know if I say unlimited power. I think it's never a bad choice. Like you should take it. But if you are playing anything that does not have monstrous infantry, it's not good anymore.
Okay.
Because it can't hurt monsters, and if it kills 3 single wound guys for 80 points, and it can't strike turn 1. Like it's got to creep up there a little bit. It does have a nice casting value at 7. It makes it a little bit tougher. But if you don't have that monstrous infantry or that kind of cav thing for it to feed on, it's not going to be cast because it's really not that good.
Okay. I can go with never a bad choice. I love it though. For the record, I think
Oh,
it's fantastic.
I've been paddled by it for sure. Like before I really understood what it would do, it just takes off units of flayers. Like they're gone. But against a lot of armies that don't take any of that stuff, like OBR, or if you're going with a really body heavy bone splitters or something like that, like it doesn't do anything against little infantry armies, for sure.
All right, we're on to everyone's favorite army to hate, Lumineth Realmlords.
Oh yeah.
We've got the Hishian Sleepstones because they put me to sleep at 50 points. Casting value 5, so they're easy to remove even by Mr. Krabs. 6-inch range, and if successfully cast, set up an endless spell wholly within range, blah 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 blah. Reservoir of Power. After you cast it, you place a die with a 1-up facing Q, and then each time a spell is cast within 12 by any wizard, you increase that number on that die to a maximum of 6 before and then before a LRL wizard within 12 casts a spell, they can drain its power. If they do, they add the value of the dice beside this endless spell to the casting roll. Then, after it's been resolved, the spell goes away. So it's like 10,000 years of trouble to get probably +6 to cast on a spell that if you don't use it and try to leave it out to get it on some sort of critical spell later, it gets dispelled because it's so easy to get rid of. And I don't know, 50 points, there's just better things to be doing. It's such a point tight army. Why do you have 50 points to just get a bonus on one spell?
And on top of that, a lot of their new bigger casters have all gained that rule where they can just call it a 9.
Yeah.
You just once a game, if you've got that important spell that you need to cast, you've already got a thing for that.
Yeah. I vote fun but bad because it gives you a big number. You can get a 6 to cast. Oh my gosh, 6 is so fun.
It's not terrible. It's just not necessary. They've got so many other ways to do this. Why? But yeah, fun but bad. Sure, why not?
Okay. Next one is the Rune of Petrification. I like this because it is, in my opinion, a budget version of Warp Lightning Vortex. You basically just stick it on a spot, casting value of 8, so it's really hard to lift, just like Warp Lightning Vortex. Range of 18, so you can reach out and touch an objective with it. And then at the start of each movement phase and at the end of each movement phase, you roll a die for every unit within 6, and on a 4-up, it's D3 mortals. In addition, you subtract 1 from run rolls and charge rolls for units within 6 inches of the endless spell, and this ability has no effect on LRI units. So you just drop it out there, and they're taking, on average, D3 mortal wounds for standing next to it every turn. Every turn. Not even every round, every turn. I just like it. What do you think?
Well, and it's only 40 points.
And it's only 40 points.
Yeah, it's solid. I would throw this up in a never bad choice. 40 points to toss that up there. Area control, some good little bits of damage. Yeah, sure.
Sweet. Then flipping back to the opposite end of the spectrum, the Sanctum of, I'm going to take a shot at this, Amyentalk. Amyentalk. Okay. Casting value 7, range of 3. To sum up this wall of text, you pretty much surround the caster with these guys, and it all becomes one model, right? Am I summarizing that succinctly?
I don't think it becomes one model. I think you set it up.
Well,
but it does not become one model.
All right. Well, while this endless spell is on the battlefield, range and invisibility to and from the model that has summoned the endless spell is measured to and from this endless spell instead. It's like a garrison.
Okay. Within range, all this.
It's got too much kind of already. We're like, what's it do?
Yeah, there's so many nonsense about all of it.
All right. Well,
Okay.
Nonetheless, all that happens is that you subtract 1 from hit rolls and add 1 to save rolls. So it's basically just a garrison. Plus 1
Fair.
save, minus 1 to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then, let's see, if the model that summoned the Sinless spell was targeted by any attacks in that phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches of the spell. On a 1 to 3, nothing happens. On a 4 to 5, they suffer a mortal wound. On a 6, they suffer D3. And they just get, like, anybody that wants to stand still in this spell is just going to get nothing personal kitted by literally anything that gets into them. And it makes it so easy to get more stuff into it because they're attacking the huge barrier rather than the model. This is a way to get your wizards killed if you're really on wanting to fast track that. Even though it's supposed to be the opposite.
Does Teklos fit inside that?
Oh no, it's very, like, you have to be very small. A wizard in a garrison cannot attempt to summon the single spell. Let's see. That's what I thought there was something saying that you could do it. Must be set up touching each other, so
just like
so the caster has to fit inside, and they just have to touch, kind of like a wildwood.
Right.
So if you can fit your base inside,
Sure.
you're good. And if you can't, you're not good. I want to say fun but bad because creating a garrison is fun to me, even if I think that it's a bad choice every time.
Sure. Yep, I can agree with that. When I first read this, I thought that it didn't do the garrison thing. I thought you just set the spell up, which essentially made it unchargeable by big stuff. But no, since you count it as a garrison, like you get to add on a little bit of spell range, and that's the only benefit to it besides a moderate amount of cover. Like, not great, not great. Yeah. Fun but bad is fine.
Oh, Sean Kelly, this is our first time doing the heads in the camera thing. For some reason, the bit rate on Shannon's camera is adjusting, and so it's dynamically changing the resolution. And so what I didn't know was that was I need to go into OBS and lock that, but I'm not going to do it live on the stream. So you get to deal with Shannon randomly, like, going big and small as his bitrate is adjusted because I might have set the bitrate on the stream too high. Anyway, that's why you see that weirdness. I apologize. We'll get it fixed for our second Talking Heads in the Box. Anyway, the next up is Stormcast, and we're going with the old Hammer Tornado, Celestian Vortex. Do you want to talk about this one?
Sure. So it's I was trying to remember which one it's like the same as. So it's 60 points, cast ability of 5, so that's super low cast value, blow it off the table nonsense. Range of 6, set it on up, it can move 8 inches and fly. You can pick one unit that it passed across, roll 12 dice for each 6. So it's the old swords, but you don't get to ignore a ward save. It's only for the one unit you pass over. Like, it's really not that great. You do get to have them take -1 from their hit rolls for attacks made with missile weapons while within 6 inches of it. But it's such a short range. It's that 14 again that you're not getting it in there right away unless you're deep striking in a wizard, which is going to happen after the casting phase. So I feel like
at best
it's got a lot of ideas.
You could translocate a wizard into their backfield and then send it forward, but that's like the worst use of a Stormcast here. Like, what? Here, kill this hero. Well, thanks.
Not only that, it's like the worst use of a translocation. There's so many things that you could throw up.
It's bad.
I see what it's trying to do.
Maybe next time. Maybe next time.
Yeah.
Bad but bad.
Bad but bad. Yeah.
All right.
Because it's really not that fun either.
It's not fun. You're just like you're sad that your toy doesn't do anything. So Dias Arcanum. This is one where it's like the old tornado thing. What was that thing called that everyone put Croak on?
Arcane Fulcrum? The arcane. It was an Arcane Fulcrum. What was it called? I don't remember anymore.
Anyway, you just put your model on top, and then this thing's base becomes the model's new base. And It has casting value 5.
Balewind Vortex.
Balewind Vortex. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean. It's casting value 5. So someone's going to dispel this right from under you while you're doing a sick trick in the pipe, which is what all the Stormcast wizards actually do this for, use this for, is to go doing sick tricks. Ugh, that's a hard word to say apparently when you're old and not cool anymore. So it's a range of 3. You can't have any more wounds than 8. So no big heroes go on top of it. And essentially you gain 12-inch fly. And if you attempt to, let's see, don't you get something else from it in addition to 12-inch fly, like an additional unbind or something like that? It's been so long. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target the wizard. Maybe I'm thinking the old one. Oh yeah, there it is. Arcane Enhancement. Wizards on a Dice Arcanum can attempt to unbind 1 extra spell in enemy hero phase. So you can't even use it to get rid of an extra endless spell.
Cool.
And you are kind of in a garrison. So I don't know. It's fun because you get to put your guy on a little disc and hover around.
It does have one little quality of life rule in there that I think is easily overlooked, which is that if the wizard that casts it tries to unbind it or dispel it, he automatically passes.
Oh,
you don't have to roll and try to get rid of your own magic. Kind of a cool thing that I wish that we'd see with more of the stuff, but not enough to make it good.
I mean, well, it gives you this like oh shit button where you dispel it and then you put the caster wholly within 6 inches of the spell, but more than 3 inches away from enemies. So you can like jump off of it, do a sick like backflip off your circly skateboard, and then everyone's awed as you're out of combat and can run away. But that is so niche. I'm gonna call it fun but bad.
Let's go fun but bad. Yeah. There's some silly
putting my
stuff.
model on top of another model and then moving it around. I'm sold. I'm so sold. Next up is Everblaze Comet. I think this one's actually good. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. I agree. I don't think this one's bad at all. It is 90 points, so it's on the steep end for sure. But range of 36 inches, cast value of 6, so the 50% chance to get rid of it. But 36 inches means you put it where you want to put it, right? Just got to be 1 inch away from other models. And then, wow, look at how short the spell description is compared to all this other nonsense. That's so nice. They did such a good job. Subtract 1 from casting rolls for wizards within 10 inches of the spell. Because it's a range 36, you're never going to shoot yourself in the foot with it. So that's good on this model. That's great. Burning Vengeance. After it's set up, roll a dice for each unit within 10 inches, not wholly within 10 inches. On a 1, they take 1 mortal wound. On a 2 to 5 is D3. On a 6, D6 mortal wounds. Holy cow. If it just had a little bit of a higher casting value, so it was sticking around for a good amount, this would be a put it down and everyone runs away.
It's that damage is only 1 time. It used to pulse. And it no longer pulses. The one thing that does do is it subtracts 1 from the casting value. Because it used to pulse in the old scroll.
Okay.
What's cool that they don't say here is that you don't have to be a Stormcast wizard to cast it. So you can ally, I'm sure people have seen the lists.
Yeah.
But you put a Slann in your army, and then the Slann is dropping it, pulling it back up in their turn, dropping it, pulling it back up in their turn. I mean, it's a cool little combo. It's 90 points.
Sure.
I don't think that it's a must-take, but I think it can be useful.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's got a good little nuke of damage. The -1 is fine. It's solid. I don't know if I would put it in never a bad choice though, because of its expenses.
Yeah,
it's a lot of points.
If it were cheaper, I would say that you're starting to get in a never bad choice realm.
Right.
But it's still it can be useful. There's always a place for it.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. Next up and last, Sylvaneth.
We need
do you want to do Glade Worm? Or you want me to take it?
I'll do the Glade Worm. not their best model. Like the whatever. It's you can tell it's very two dimensional. It's fine. 50 points. Casting value of a 7. Set it up within 6 inches. It's kind of a weird wording on that. If successfully cast, set up 1 Glade Worm wholly within range.
I wonder if there's a point that they were thinking about doing multiples and then they just never
right.
It.
It's such a weird little thing. Anyway, it can fly, moves 8 inches. So again, standard 14. We're set right there. Death from below. After it's moved, roll a dice for each unit within 1 inch of it. On a 3-up, it takes D3 mortal wounds. Doesn't hurt Sylvaneth. It doesn't have the move over. It just has the range around, which, it's okay. Healing Mist. Roll a dice for each Sylvaneth unit within 6 inches on a 3-up. Heal D3. So it's a bad Terminexus.
It's a bad Terminexus.
Essentially, like summing it up, it's a bad Terminexus.
So comment down here. So you can spell slinger it. Maybe that's why the extra must be wholly within caster stipulation. That's not a bad call out.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
But yeah, I agree that it's not like I'm not getting excited about it at 50 points. I think I think you've got better options in Sylvaneth for spellcasting, particularly in your endless spells. But that said, what do you think?
One thing it does have over the Terminexus, both effects can happen. It's not an either or. So if you throw it into combat, you can be damaging and healing.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. Again, yeah, it's nothing where I'm like, oh man, I'm building my whole army about it and everything's going to have Glade Worms in the bases and this is cool. But it's not bad.
Yeah,
it's okay.
The Sylvaneth playstyle isn't stick around and fight it out though. Like,
sure.
Like you're wanting to go in, kill somebody, and then run away before they get to play the game with you. And this is like that perfect storm where it's all happening. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a great thing to help you go in late game when they're finally getting into you, and you and you can't just run away because they're actually covering all the stuff. But I don't know. It feels like you're running away from combat a lot. That's just me.
Yeah.
Sounds like you like it better.
I think you're right. Bringing up that point where the perfect storm situation means they have charged you.
In their turn.
Next turn. Correct. Yeah. So, niche. Like, there's good situations for it if you're building your list up for it. But you're right. A lot of with what people are trying to do, hit, kill, get out of there. This isn't that great at all. Like you could take a life swarm for slightly less points, and you don't have to worry about the 3-up. Don't forget, these things happen on a 3-up. You could fail them.
Super unreliable.
Yeah, for sure. I would say niche.
Niche, yeah, because you can still block your lines with it, right?
Sure.
You can teleport behind it using your strike and fade, and then they can't charge you because you've got that between 2 trees, and then you're behind it. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of play, but I don't think anybody's gonna be going hard on Blade Worm strat anytime soon.
Nope.
On the opposite end of everyone going hard into it, Spite Swarm Hive. 40 points, and it's everywhere. And I think that there's a reason.
Oh yeah.
7, so it's hard to get rid of. Range 15 inches, so you can even be out of position with your caster and get it, and throw it downfield. It doesn't move, but that's fine. At the end of your hero phase, excuse me. At the end of the hero phase, you can use one of the following abilities: Venoms. On a 2-up, add 3 to the normal move to normal moves and charged moves for that unit till the end of the turn. So it's essentially 6 inches extra move, right? Because it's both the move and the charge.
Yeah.
And it's 2-up, so it's not perfectly reliable, but I like it not being perfectly reliable. In all honesty, I think it helps the game not be like too able to tell what's going to happen. The
Sure.
Shielding Swarm, pick somebody, and on a 2-up, worsen the Rend. So,
Yep.
I like that too because it's not just endless value with +1 save. It's just better into things with.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
I think it's amazing.
Mhm.
I think it might be unlimited power.
I would go with never a bad choice. The
Yeah.
only reason why I don't say unlimited power is because again you do have that 2-up you got to worry about. It's not just you're a minus rend around me because I'm the purple sun, right? So you've got that, and it also has wholly within instead of within on both effects. So you do have to be a little bit careful in positioning because it doesn't move. So when you
Right.
cast it, you gotta set this thing up.
Your movement is so good in Sylvaneth. You just be where you want. Like you put that thing down and then you just teleport back to it. Like
But when do you teleport back to it?
you teleport back to it in striking phase, so that's at the end of your first activation in combat in your turn.
So,
So
but you pick
you
these effects at the end of
the hero.
the player's hero phase.
Yeah. So what people have been doing, and I think I saw Sean call it out there.
Mm-hmm.
You in your hero phase, you put it down. You give
Right.
yourself +3 to run to charge and to walk, so +6 move essentially.
Yep.
And then maybe you bring the Gurian Battle Mage for an additional +3 to charge. So then you're
Sure.
adding 9. You take that unit, you just push it up, charge it straight into their lines. You kill something. At least you
Mm-hmm.
activate, right? And then you teleport
Sure.
back to where you summoned it. And then in their turn, I think, like Sean said, you then make yourself tougher by giving yourself -1 to rend.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's
Yep.
just,
No, fair enough.
yeah, you're talking like that extra 6 inches of reach on an army that then just runs away from you and you have no counterplay. In this army, I think is what makes it unlimited power. That's just my
Fair.
hot take. I
Nope.
don't
I
think
think.
it's like that in every army, but in this one, with your ability to strike and fade, it's just,
Yeah.
I don't know how you write a list without it sometimes.
Fair enough. Yep. I could agree with that.
Okay.
We can totally toss it up. It's got that same weird wording. Yeah.
Maybe
but
it was just
to
somebody's
that
first book.
point, could be. Could
Yeah,
be.
all the recent books have been really good. Maybe they've got somebody else on there. All right, last endless spell. Would you like
Mm-hmm.
to tell us about the Vengeful Skull route?
I would love to. But first off, I like this model.
I do.
Like, I like it a lot. It's got
Yeah.
depth, visual depth to it. It's a cool sort of a deal. It's very elven ethereal. I like it. So 60 points. Sylvaneth has got to cast it, blah, blah, blah. Casting value is 6, range of 6. Weird wording again. Moves 8 inches, so we're back to our standard 14. It can fly. Terror is unearthed. If a unit fails battle shock test, that means it's already got my vote. Within 3 inches of this endless spell, add D3 the numbers that flee. Doesn't affect Sylvaneth. So half of a Horrorghast right there. 60 points, a little more expensive. Strangle Roots. After this endless spell is moved, roll a dice for each unit that has any models that passed across, and each other unit that's within 1 inch. So it's got the special and word. It bumps it right up right
version.
there.
Yeah.
It's the good version. On a 2-up, that unit takes D3 mortal wounds or D6 if they're also within 6 inches of woods, which half the board is when you're playing these guys. The ability has no effect on Sylvaneth. Pretty great.
Yeah. I just really like it.
If it had, you can't use Inspiring Presence in with it, I would have it way up there. Like if the Horrorghast could be putting in chip damage and proccing itself, it would be
unlimited power.
Unlimited power, yeah. Because of that, it's not unlimited power, but this is good.
Yeah.
For sure, this is good.
And you can cast it out of the trees, so it's coming straight out of the tree at you.
Yeah.
And there's no rule on that Spellslinger that says you can't, like they can shut it off if you're nearby. If you're near a tree, just get ready to take D6 mortal wounds on a 2-up.
Yep. Yeah.
And is it each unit? And
yeah, it's each unit.
I like it. I like it so much. I'd say never a bad choice. What do you think?
Even at 60 points, the only thing that was making me think was a 60 point. But no, I agree. Never a bad choice. I can't think of a Sylvaneth list you would take in which you're not taking trees, and therefore you may as well take this thing.
Right.
Like the ability to do D6 mortal wounds to anybody that it passed over and it ends within 1 inch of is huge. And then on top of that, you got this battle shock thing that you can play with. Get a couple wounds that it does, chip in some shots, and make them have to make that hard choice. They know 2 of them are taking battle shock. They're probably both going to fail. You can only use Inspiring Presence once. That other one's going to get smacked with an extra D3. I love making my opponent make choices. And for that, yeah, never a bad choice.
Sweet.
Perfect.
And that's our hot takes.
Holy cow.
I know, that was 3 hours. We just can't have a short stream. There's no such thing.
Right? No, not at all. So, yeah, fantastic. This was a fun thing to break down, and if nothing else, it gives a really cool overview of all these spells for someone maybe just jumping in.
Yeah, and I really like Sean's call out there to combine the tree with the Horrorghast, and then you're doing it. The downside is that there's kind of like a delay there because you can only cast. Well, you can cast all your spells.
Oh, a wizard can only cast 1. So
yeah,
2 wizards can cast 2 endless spells.
But you can only have 1 spell slinger to cast them through the trees, and so you just kind of have to keep in mind about placement and stuff. But that said, it's just
the Horrorghast has a better range. You might be able to get away with that.
Yeah,
some of the roots come out of the trees, and the Horrorghast could just go down the field.
Well, nonetheless, I do like it as a combo.
Sure.
Like, I don't think it's going to be winning any tournaments anytime soon, but it's the sort of thing that I'd run because it's a weird gimmick, and I love me some saucy gimmicks. Well, absolutely. Sean, I appreciate you joining us and chatting us with this throughout this whole thing. I like all your feedback.
Absolutely.
Particularly around Beast of Chaos, but just in general. Anything else before we head out, my dude?
I don't think so. This was great. If you like this sort of thing, let us know below. Because it's not a hard deal to set up, and we can even maybe find smaller categories and shorter things that we can do.
One of these days we'll have a short stream.
One of these days.
Well, I do think that our next stream will be a game. I think that we've had some requests for Shannon versus Ian, so we're gonna try and get that thing going. But that'll be after KC Open, after I've had a chance to do the rest. So, anyway, thanks for making time, Shannon, and thanks for everybody else that's hopped on afterward and made it to this very end to see what we thought. See y'all next time.